after telling her I leave her. Told her I ain't trust her no more and didn't believe her. Told her she had changed and I ain't the same either. In my mind I'm on a boat somewhere puffing a cohiba. The water in the wind fuel the fire in my fever. Waiting on the world to finally make me a believer. They brought her into paradise but only to mislead her. I was with her in the terror dome smoking on the Chiba. To me she's superhuman, I never thought that I'd grieve her. She constantly gave me confidence, pushed me to be a leader. She'll follow me wherever I go, but can I lead her? I say yes to my sixth sense manifest and I see death. To the water so deep you're forced to hold your breath. Till it feel like a demon ripped your rib cage right out your chest. I search for mountain peaks to stand on, surveying the land, but rather not be at the top unless she holding my hand. If she call it cause she falling in my arms, she gon' land. I've been with her since I hit her, so she called me a man. Our relationship hate love, but it's like we both addicted, picked up poison, we each other's drug. Overdosing on each other like enough ain't enough. I'm a hustler and she with me, so I got the stuff. Yeah, stay with me, love me till my number's up. I'm here to protect you, I won't hurt you like them other chumps. I won't disrespect you or let you go for another one. Separate we something fierce, together we something troublesome. Always smiling, looking like she hit the number, huh? That's cause she with me and she know I'm in love with her. And even though we've been beefing these days, she know I'll be with her till I'm D.O. I'm in it for the long haul, trying to hit the long ball out the park. After dark, I'm reaching for the stars. Y'all waiting till the walls fall. I'm crashing through the roof, chase this love into the cosmos and return to living proof that he who worked the hardest has the heart to speak the truth. Will never be a slave, I have to bow to fakes like you. I seen a million of you, they ain't all for nothing new. And my chick will never dig your shit, she see through dicks like you. The thing about a soulmate, they can make it so great. I'm a better man, damn, with that came some more hate. It's okay, I won't break, this kind of love ain't fragile. My man resolve on rattle, push and shove to make my own way. Just how it's supposed to be, I'm supposed to keep her close to me. Right next to the weapons, the words, the wisdom, the rosary. Maneuver through the badlands like everything's opposing me. I swear there's nothing holding me, we'll make it out as long as we watch every single step and protect our every blessing. Go harder than all the rest and never miss out on a lesson. No confidence, second guessings was keeping us in these messes. This type of stress depresses, this type of truth in the message. Let's make beautiful music, the gift was given, let's use it. I said I loved her, I proved it, I grabbed my shit and I moved in. Knocked her up, propped her up and put her where she should be. I ain't going nowhere, forever's what this could be. Yeah, stay with me, love me till my number's up. I'm here to protect you, I won't hurt you like them other chumps. I won't disrespect you or let you go for another one. Separate we something fierce, together we something troublesome. Always smiling, looking like she hit the number, huh? That's cause she with me and she know I'm in love with her. And even though we've been beefing these days, she know I'll be with her till I'm D.O.A. What is poppin'? What is poppin'? Welcome to Shy Ill Reacts. I am your host, Shy Ill. Thank you for being here. CHI-ILL, Shy Ill. I'll accept Shy for short. Salute to y'all. Appreciate you being here. Whoever walks in, make sure you wipe your feet and hit the like button for me. I'd appreciate it. Feeling, sounding, and looking a bit under the weather. Appreciate y'all for being here. And we were supposed to go live yesterday, but yeah, I was feeling like dog shit in a brown paper bag smashed against the front door of somebody's house and lit on fire. But we back today, and we here for a double header, so I appreciate those that walk in. Those that walk in, please hit the like button. Those that walk out, please hit the like button. I appreciate y'all for being here. Quick housekeeping tips before we get started. We got $2 TTS, text to speech. You can put a donation in and have your comment pop up live on my screen. It'll look like this.
Test user sent $50 test message.
And for $5, you can attach a YouTube link to that will play right then and there, and I will react to it right then and there. Salutes to Old Soul for being first in the chat. Salutes, brother. We in here. Today we doing a double up. Today we're going to get episode 2 of Finnegan's Take and chapter 16 of Cartel Wives. Hearing a lot of good things about Cartel Wives.
On more than one of occasion, I've heard that people are enjoying Cartel Wives more than they did the Surviving El Chapo series. So to each his own. But yeah, I could see how that could be the case. I like the amalgamation of the two because I get information from one that I didn't get from the other, and vice versa. So I appreciate that. That's pretty dope too. Um, but yeah, we got demonetized on the Charlie Wagner telling the El Wapo and Gomez brothers story. So I thought I'd let y'all know that. Just a update. Who knows why we got demonetized for that? It's tragic. It was riddled with. It's tragic. It was riddled with cussing and all kind of stuff. It's just, to me, I have proof that it's an arbitrary system on YouTube. I tell you right now, in one of these Chinese video farms that are on YouTube, there is a Howard Stern clip with full frontal nudity on YouTube, and it's still up there, monetized, and hasn't beaten any community guidelines or hasn't been struck by any community guidelines. If y'all, for those that know the Howard Stern show, y'all know Sal and Richard were a couple of dirty, filthy animals, and they were constantly, dropping they pants. And that happened to pop up the other day, and I couldn't believe it. I said, "Wow, I get stood on. YouTube standing on my neck, but Sal and Richard Christie out here whipping it out live on YouTube." So I don't know. To me, it's an arbitrary system that doesn't even matter, and they just pick and choose who they want to mess with. So it is what it is. Salute to Old 30 North in the chat. Let me get my hundreds up. Salute to Old 30 North. Wow. And that's it, man. We in here. I did my little baby YouTube rant. They got full frontal out there. I'm sitting here minding my business. Salute JP the Ghost in here. Let a couple more people walk in. I appreciate y'all for being here. We had a couple of days ago. We also had a comment from Sarah Lee, and Sarah Lee found the true crime playlist. I wish a couple more of y'all would find it. There's 88 videos in there that have been done within the last 3 or 4 months, and nobody really goes and checks them out. Everybody's stuck on the cartel stuff, but there's a lot of funny stuff in there, a lot of good stuff in there. So make sure you go check that out. I will, as a matter of fact, pin that in here. I'll pin all of the playlists in here. Here we go. Copy. So y'all make sure y'all check that out when you got time. She found it. She thought it was dope. She was like, do more hip hop reactions, because I did a reaction to the Locks, to an old argument between the Locks and Diddy on Hot 97 with Angie Martinez. She thought that was dope. She enjoyed it. I will tell you this: Diddy end up on trial. We're covering that trial. You know what I'm saying? We're right there. But yeah, so there you go. You got the playlist tagged in the chat. Again, don't mind my voice. I'm doing what I can with what I got today. What else? What else can we talk about that I started to do my research on Saul, so I'll be doing the Saul. So let me make it clear that not all of these videos that I'm gonna drop are gonna be videos that we do initially in a live. I take advantage of the live so that I can hang out with y'all and stuff like that. But some of these videos, like the G Unit Chain video, that wasn't something that I could do live because it took a lot of research and a lot of different pieces and a lot of different videos. And I don't really want to do that live. I want to take my time behind the scenes with that. So I'm working on a couple of things in the background. I started doing my research on Saul Rodriguez, Saul being the person that kidnapped Peter in the first kidnap. And that guy's a special kind of dirtbag. So we're going to get into that. I'll be putting out a video of that soon. And I got some other things in the works. So I appreciate y'all for being here. I appreciate y'all for coming around. Hit the subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell so you know what we're doing. Again, the super thanks work, super chats, all of that good stuff. So, I think we're going to get into it, and we're going to start, since we're already 16 chapters deep on Cartel Wives, we're just going to start with episode 2 of Finnegan's Take. Episode 2 of Finnegan's Take is The Academy. All right, let's see what they taught him in the academy. Let's see if they taught Mr. Jerome Finnegan to if they taught him that he's different from the criminal if he steals from the criminal. Let's see if they taught him that in jail. Make sure while you're watching, if you jump in late, catch the playback and say what's up in the chat. I mean, again, I appreciate y'all. Also, 030 North, JP the Ghost. Let's get it. Let me get my boom. Let me get my Finnegan's Take joint up here. Boom. Get this a little adjustment right here. Bow. And here we go. Finnegan's Take episode 2. Guillermo Pot, I always check you out. I like your content you always make. Make me laugh out loud. Salutes to you, Guillermo. Thank you. Appreciate you. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. We trying to build. We trying to grow over here, man. We trying to make some noise. So I appreciate you being here. We hanging out. Again, here we go. Finnegan's Take, episode 2, The Academy. Let's see what the Academy taught Mr. Jerome Finnegan.
This is conversation 2 of Finnegan's Take. Jerry takes the entry exam to become a cop and joins the academy. He requests to join the 7th District, which encompasses Inglewood on the south side of Chicago, and is considered by many to be one of the most dangerous and crime-ridden neighborhoods in the city and the country. Here's that conversation. You have a transition in your life from being a laborer to taking your exam to become a police officer.
That was the only thing I aspired to do in life. I took the examination in 1985, got my results maybe about 9 months later, and it was actually pretty fast because the city generally drags out the results on these tests. It could be a year and a half, 2 years before you hear something. So there was a test procedure, different parts of the test. You had to take a physical agility. You had to take a health physical if you got hired during the processing. And in addition to that, at that time, they had this thing called an assessment center. I don't know what the reasoning was for this. What they would do is they ask a question in a scenario. They give you a scenario. A sergeant would sit in with 5 or 6 of you guys, including myself.
Give you a scenario. Okay, guys. You guys, here's what happens. You guys break into this house. I mean, you don't break into this house. You raid this house, right? And you lock everybody up. You got everybody down on the ground. You got everybody, cuffed up. And you just happen to run into 17 million in the closet and 16 kilos. What do? Their answer was, we take 16.5 million, we take everything but 1 kilo, and we turn over the $500,000, and we turn over 1 kilo. That's what they taught him at the at the police academy.
And he would say, this is the scenario, and then you have to answer. So everyone gets a certain amount of time to answer. Then I went down, and I was told that I was overweight, which was absurd. So I was told that was a way of weaning out white guys because they had too many of them in the pool. I said, you know what, I'm going to lose weight. So I started running on a regular basis, and I was not obese by far. I was probably in the best shape of my life. I dieted and gave them no excuse. And I would go on a weekly basis, make sure that I weighed in, made progression every week.
Was this an option they presented to you? Like, by the way, you can come in every week?
No.
Or you took the initiative?
Yes. They did not tell you. I was told by one of the nurses in the medical section on Jackson, where the police academy's at, you don't have to come in every week. You can come in like every month. And I said, no, I'm going to come in every week because I want to make sure that I'm showing an initiative, and I want to make sure that you say I have to lose 14 pounds or whatever, then I'll lose the 14 pounds. I did that. I passed that part. Everything was an awaiting process. I called home, and Jane tells me that detective from personnel called. So I said, okay. So she gives me the guy's name. His name was Mosier. And I called him up. He answers the phone, and he reads a blanket statement. Regret to inform you that you're going to be eliminated from the process because you have not passed the psychological examination. I said,
It's like the universe knew that this guy shouldn't have been a cop. He got rejected 1,000 times, but he pushed the issue. I mean, Probably should have just saw the signs, bro.
Haven't passed the psychological examination. And I said, what recourse do I have? He says, oh, well, you can come and see a psychiatrist again. I said, put me down for that because I want to come and see the psychiatrist. So I go to the academy when I get a date, and there's about 30, 40 people there waiting, and they're calling us one by one. They go down the hallway into a cubicle and talk to a psychiatrist. When it's my turn, I go down there, sit down. The guy's very nice, young guy, tells me, sit down. So he says, oh, I just got some questions here for you. Said that you were arrested for disorderly conduct at a baseball game. I said, that's correct. Well, tell me about that. I said, well, some guys from Indiana were behind us at a Sox game. My brother and I were there, and they were smoking weed, and they kept blowing it onto us. And we asked them nicely, but they kept it up. So we ended up getting a fist fight with them. Okay. And I said, we weren't the only ones. All four of us were arrested. Okay. All right, so what about this? It says you can easily consume 6 drinks in an hour. So I said, well, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I said, I have 7 brothers. And I said, it's kind of if you snooze, you lose. So if you get a case of beer and you don't drink fast, you're losing out. Kind of laughed it off.
How did he know?
This guy got the answer for everything. You got locked up for fighting. What happened? Oh, they were blowing illegal substances on us, and we beat them up, and we all went to jail. And well, we heard that you could drink a gallon of vodka straight out the bottle. Well, famine mentality in my household. I have so many brothers that we have to guzzle down the vodka in my house. You just make a illogical explanation for everything.
The written test has a psychological element built into it. So they'll ask you the question, but they'll rephrase it 40 questions later or 30 questions later. And if you answer it a little differently, then they'll flag you. It's not because you...
He asked him what? How do you know he drank all that?
And I said, it's kind of if you snooze, you lose. So if you get a case of beer and you don't drink fast, you're losing out. Kind of laughed it off.
How did he know this?
The written test has a psychological element built into it. So they'll ask you the question, but they'll rephrase it 40 questions later or 30 questions later. And if you answer it a little differently, then they'll flag you. It's not because you did something crazy, but they ask you, like, do you hear voices? I want to believe one of the questions, have you ever played with your feces? I mean, stuff like this. It's not like question, have you been treated for mental illness? Have you been in the hospital? None of that. It's just questions, and they rephrase them to see if they can get you to answer in a different manner. I said I wasn't arrested for ever fighting, and I was. It was a misdemeanor, and I just forgot about it.
Sure.
The guy was like, okay. And then...
Sure, he forgot about it. Right. It was just a misdemeanor. Forgot about it. Slipped my mind. I didn't mention it in my evaluation. I wasn't trying to... Now, see, they can lie about so much, and I'm talking about privileged white guys like this. You know what I'm saying? Don't be offended, because not all of you are privileged. But he could lie about things. He could lie about things and just, brush it off as, because in his mind he has reason. In his mind, maybe I just don't have to tell him this part. You know what I'm saying? No, that's not how it works for none of us, bruh. We go to jail, misdemeanor, no misdemeanor. It's gonna follow us around. Yours gonna follow you around. Your arrogance is what keeps you from being able to say, you'll sit there and say, I just forgot. It slipped my mind. Hey, did 7 years for an attempt. Oh, slipped my mind. Like what?
The drinking, they must have, like, do you hear voices? I want to believe one of the questions, have you ever played with your feces? I mean, stuff like this. It's not like question, have you been treated for mental illness? Have you been in the hospital? None of that. It's just questions, and they rephrase them to see if they can get you to answer in a different manner. I said I wasn't arrested for ever fighting, and I was. It was a misdemeanor, and I just forgot about it.
Sure.
The guy was like, okay. And then the drinking, they must have asked about consuming alcohol at a party or something within an hour, and I said yes. So maybe I would rush through it. It's a time test. I don't know. But those were the 2 things they flagged me on.
Of course you don't know.
I get a letter saying a report to the police academy. Came out of the clear blue sky. and it said that I had to call and accept my appointment to the police department. So I called the detective who had come out to my house years before. His name was Rockaway, very pleasant guy, and his son was on the job later. I believe his son was a sergeant. And he just told me, good luck. That was it. So I reported to the academy. That time it was 20 weeks.
Let's pause there for a second and just expand a little bit. So the detective comes to tell you that you've made it?
No. The detective comes out in your background investigation. So what they do is when you turn in it's called a package. They send you out a package, and you have to fill out this paperwork about all your brothers, and sisters, and family members, your mom and dad. They don't so much ask back then. They didn't ask too much about like debt, except if you owed the city. You had to show that you had a current city of Chicago vehicle tax.
Salutes in the chat to J-Fan. Salutes, J-Fan. Thank you for being here, sir. We're talking about dirty police over here on this side right now. We're dealing with Jerome Finnegan. Finnegan's Take. This is episode 2. And he's just a dirty criminal cop with an excuse for everything.
Tag sticker, for the window that you purchased that your driver's license was current and not suspended, but he had that printout that he had already. He says, yeah, I see your driver's license. You don't have any outstanding violations or anything. So they come out and they look to see where you live, sit down, said, I'm going to be your background investigator. Everything so far looks pretty good. Call me if you need anything, and I'm going to do the follow-up into your background when I have to do all the other stuff, and then we'll notify you. I called him about a month later. I got a message to call him, and I called him. And he said, yeah, your background's done. I signed off on it. My boss signed off on it, sent you to processing. So you'll be going for health physical and the physical agility. They have your report to, that time it was the police gym at 35th and Normal, old building, factory. And you did the sit-ups, pull-up, push-ups.
Now, they already told him he was obese. And they shut him down a couple of times, told him because he was out of shape, he was obese, right? He said he wasn't, right? He used the excuse. See, you people jump on my back, but he'll use the excuse, oh, there was too many white guys. We had to, they had to weed out a couple of white guys, so they just called them fat. Well, how do you know that to be true, bro? You know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily know that to be true. It's just the excuse that you settled with. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you was obese at the time. You already lied on your application. You was obese, and they saw that you was an alcoholic already. And your excuse was famine mentality in your family that you had to drink the liquor quick or your brothers would drink it all. It all sounds ridiculous. If somebody was giving Mr. Jerome Finnegan that explanation when Jerome Finnegan was in their house arresting their grandmama at her birthday party, he'd laugh in their face. You know what I'm saying? But he wants us to take all those excuses seriously. Like, get the
do a 1.5-mile time run. You had to lift something to make sure your back wasn't bad. And then after that, they have you report to police academy.
Do a chin up,
and
fat
have
boy.
you stripped down to your boxers. You stand there in the gym, and they walk up and down the rows of recruits, and they have you bend forward all the way down, touch your toes. They want to make sure you don't have any ailments that can prevent you from, and then claiming it once you come on the job. And then they look at you for tattoos. They look at your body, make sure you don't have any major issues. You take a vision test, a hearing test, and then that's it. And then when you're done with that, you wait for them to call you. But I got a notice saying that I had to lose some weight. So I was like, yeah, okay.
You're a fat
The
ass.
funny thing about that was, Neil, and I knew, and this wasn't just me saying, that's my opinion. I go to the academy. We're out on a run. We would run from Jackson and Loomis to Western Avenue, which was a couple miles, and then back to the academy, a couple more miles back. And we were in December, so it wasn't nice out, but myself and another guy named Bill Moriarty and a couple other guys were always in the front of the pack. And I see all of these big fat asses bringing up the back, a couple white guys, asthma inhalers, and I just want to know why didn't they have to lose weight? Why weren't they going in for a weigh-in and being delayed and everything else? I knew what that was all about. And it's funny because Harold Washington had just died. Sheen Sawyer was the mayor when I got hired, and then Daley beat him in a special election in '89 to take over the 2 more years until he can run for a full term. So Sawyer's in there. 8 male whites, myself, Bill Moriarty, and some other white guys, get called into a small classroom, and there's 2 black female instructors, police officers, black male, and a black sergeant. His name was Brian Lundy. They close the door. They start telling us about slavery and how the white slave masters would have sex with the female slaves and produce babies. And the whole time, they're looking at us. I don't know if they're waiting for some reactions, but we're just listening because we're brand new guys and we don't want to fuck up and lose our jobs. So after about a half hour of that, we're dismissed and we go back to our class. And on the way up, we're like, what the fuck was that about? To this day, I never know what that was about. I don't know if they were trying to get a reaction out of us to weed us out. It was just the weirdest thing. It had nothing to do with police work. Although a lot of shit that we learned in there had nothing to do with police work. A lot of the instructors, there were, like my homeroom instructor was a great guy, but there were some coppers in there that didn't have shit for time on the job. A lot of females, they were hiding, man, because they didn't want to be out there on the street. They had a nice cush job in there.
Why don't you lead us up to when you got on the force? What year was that?
So he don't want us to read into the fact that he said, man, they start talking to us about slavery. They probably gave them a course on racial relations. They probably gave them a course on how to treat people of different races in the communities that they're going to be policing, that they don't live in, that they don't have nobody that they love in, how to treat them. But all he picked up from it was they gave us a story about slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Come on, man. They was trying their best. They was weeding y'all out for real. And guess what? If you look at the image of him in the famous picture, for those that don't know, Mr. Jerome Finnegan is notorious for being in a picture with a black man on the ground with antlers on and his tongue hanging out his mouth as him and another police officer stand over him with rifles. Hold on a sec. Let me get this. And there it is. Right? Now he's already on the force, right? Looks like a fat ass there to me. Right? Looks like they should have sent him home to do some push-ups as far as the academy goes. You know? Besides the pig activities that he's taking part in this image right here, if you ask me, he don't look in the best shape right there. So I think his arrogance doesn't let him acknowledge the truth. They sent him home for this reason or that reason. He was a victim of reverse affirmative action. You know what I mean? Of course he got an excuse. Of course. Everybody can make an excuse for themselves. Your excuse don't matter. What you got to say don't matter. But their excuse, completely valid as far as he's concerned. As far as he's concerned, completely valid. There we go.
Started the police academy December of '88, December 5th to be exact, and then completed various courses for the academy. Towards the end of completing everything that was required, you took a state examination for law enforcement officer, which everyone has to do. They're required no matter where you work in the state. Took that exam and was informed, myself and a number, I think there were 120 some odd recruits, including myself, and I think there were only like 3 or 4 failures. So we were informed individually that we were passed. If you were complete with all the requirements from the academy, then we were informed that we would be sworn in. I was expecting some pretty big ceremony getting sworn in. I was one of 24 at that time. We were told to report to the gym in the academy. And there were a couple of police officers there who were instructors, checked off our names, and when they called us, and then tossed small manila envelope to each one of us. And we knew what that was. It was your star and your hat shield. Simulation, because you just had finished the academy. Although you weren't finished with the academy, you had completed what was required of you. You still had a little bit of academy time left, a number of weeks, probably less than a month. After you received your star and your shield, you were informed by the homeroom instructor. Those of you who were sworn today are to report in your uniforms. Didn't know much about how to act as a police officer on the street, except for if you saw somebody doing something, common sense would tell you, yeah, you could take police action. So you got a star and a hat shield, but you did not get a identification card. Which
I wonder how many people he smashed up as a recruit when he was in the police academy, since they said, yeah, if you see something illegal happening, by all means, handle your business. I wonder if he was thirsty, gung-ho, ready to go out the jump and smash somebody.
Which I thought was the strangest thing. After you were close to the end of the academy, our particular class, we were going to get out at the end of March. Right before we were released from the academy, we were going to be given our assignments. So you would be told what district you were going to. They did not give you the opportunity to say, oh, I'd like to go here or I'd like to go here. Yeah, there's guys that wanted to go to certain districts and they didn't end up there. They got sent somewhere else. There's guys that asked somebody like a boss or something to put in a request or even ask people in the academy. I remember going in to see with my homeroom instructor, one of the lieutenants there who was in charge of doing the assignments. He said, this guy's asking to go to Inglewood to the 7th district. So the lieutenant says, well, let me see what I could do. It's funny because it was one of the worst areas to work in the city. So it wasn't a soft place. It was they called them fast. So it was a very fast district. So that's where you want to go. You want to go and learn how to be the police. And the guys that are working there are the police and the women because they're doing stuff every day where it's very busy and there's a lot of crime. So you're going to learn how to do that job fast. And you're going to be the police. In Chicago, there was a saying that was called the real police.
Real
so
police.
Talking about somebody and say, guys, the real police. And I'm not saying just because.
What do you say? They refer to people as real police. What I tell you before, when they refer to people as real police, it's people that, to me, it's people that's willing to do anything. Real police, they're willing to lie, cheat, steal. They're willing to create evidence on you. They call them, so they say that they're real police, and they have another list of things that they say makes you real police. But my list is that you're willing to lie, cheat, steal, manipulate, create, make up, pretend, all of the good, all of the stuff that they do. That's the props they give each other. He real police, man. He real police. He willing to get his hands in the dirt.
Because they worked in the 7th district or the 11th district or the 15th district or 25, and even on the south side, 5, 3, 4, very fast districts, high crime. So anyway, I ended up going to the 7th district.
I want to pause a moment and shed some light on the 7th district.
Real police.
7th district is a little square on the south side of Chicago. It sits within an area called Inglewood. As Jerry stated, it is considered one of the more dangerous places in the city. It remains so to this day. And Chicago is made up of 22 districts. It used to be 25. When Jerry was on the force, it was 25, and I believe a couple districts have been wrapped into other districts. I think 13, maybe 21. But today it's, I believe, down to 22 districts. And just reading a little bit from Wikipedia census information about Inglewood, the data from 2022, 1% white, it's 92% black, 3.9% Hispanic, 0.06% Asian, 2.2% other. This is interesting to know on the political front. The Inglewood community area has supported the Democratic Party in the past 2 presidential elections by overwhelming margins. In the 2016 presidential election, the Inglewood cast 8,646 votes for Hillary Clinton and cast 141 votes for Donald Trump. That's 97% to 1%. But let's go back to the conversation.
I lived in the 8th district.
Oh, thanks,
7
bro.
was a small district.
Thanks for stopping us to get your politic on. And I get it. It matters. It makes sense.
The smaller the district, the higher the crime. Started me on a watch. Captain at that time was Jimmy Delaney. He was, like the captain I would later go to work for, they held command positions. They were commanders before being demoted back to their civil service rank of captain. And the reason they were demoted was that they were Jane Byrne supporters. When Jane Byrne lost and the next mayor was Harold Washington. The guys who were James Byrne supporters all got dumped back to their civil service ranks.
Was this common practice in the in the ping pong of Chicago politics?
The exempt people serve at the leisure of the superintendent of police. So you get a change in the administration generally, not all the time, but generally you'll get a new superintendent because they want somebody that is going to march to their drum. The mayor's going to say from the fifth floor, I'm going to make you the superintendent, but this is the way I want stuff done. When it comes to promotions, people who are politically heavy have political clout. Those people get command spots, and they go like a rising star. They just keep going up the chain.
Why do you think you were assigned to the 7th?
I asked my homeroom instructor, Pat Madlink, great guy. He's gone. He was a Marine, and he was a decorated police officer. He was in the academy. Didn't dig too much into it, but I know he was awarded the superintendent's award of valor. And he told it like it was. It wasn't all the rule stuff. And he'd tell you, get out here, this is going to happen, or this is going to happen. I mean, he was a pretty honest guy and very candid about how the department operated. I asked him one day, I said, hey, Maz, if you like to be called Maz Lanka. I go, hey, Maz, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, do you think you can get me to the 7th district? He goes, you want to go to the 7th district? So let me get your temperature. He said, no, I'm serious. I live in 8th. And I heard it's fast and it's a great place to be the police. And he goes, you're going to learn to be the police there, that's for sure. He goes, let me see what we can do. A couple of weeks went by, and I was walking in from lunch, and he said, come here. So he took me in to see the lieutenant, said, this is one of my puppies. Can you see what you can do about getting the 7? And the lieutenant said, oh, let me see what I could do. Because believe it or not, people wanted to go to fast districts. I didn't rely on just that. My sister's brother-in-law was a commander at that time. He had friends in the department. And my sister had met other guys through him. There was a guy on there. His name was John Stibbage, and he was a great guy. He was a deputy chief at that time in the detective division. She saw him, and she said, hey, can you send my brother to 7? And he goes, yeah. He says, let me see. I'll see what I can do. So I got notified that I was going to be assigned to the 7th district when the sheet came out.
So listen, all of those little things, the things that the nepotism that didn't work for his father, that left his father with a bad taste in his mouth, that put his father in a position to never ask for a favor again or allow one to be given to him again. This guy was open to it. Hey, man, hook me up. Hey, man, can you get me there? Hey, can you get me there? Cronyism, all that. I want to be in the 7th, man. I want to smash some skulls.
They put it on the board in each homeroom, and it showed you where you were going. I saw my name and my employee number and my star number, and then it said, unit of assignment is 044, which is the academy. Because while you're a recruit, until you're on probation, you're still assigned to the academy. But it said detail 007 district. So I got to go to the 7th district, which was, to me, was a little nervous. I'm not going to lie to you, because although I grew up in the city, it was different.
Did you know what the 7th district was as a civilian, or did you just? No, you didn't. But you knew. But you knew the area as a civilian.
Yeah, sure. I knew you didn't go over there. I mean, I had no reason to go through unless I was driving through to go somewhere.
You knew this area. You just didn't know it as a 7th district. But as you go through the academy, you want to go into the action. So the 7th district has a reputation in your mind as one of the most dangerous districts, and you, Jerry Finnegan, are wired to want to go into those circumstances. That's why you want to become a cop, right? I mean, that was
right.
I mean, are you selling it as bravery? Well, you're a brave soldier. It's in your heart. It's in your soul. This is where you want to be, right? Or is put me in the shit. I want to go break something. I want to go take something. I want to be real police.
That was your destination.
Yeah. Downtown, I mean, stuff's going to happen down there. There were victims of crime down there. There were robberies and stuff like that. But the 1st district was a retirement home at one time in the police department. Literally. If you went to one, you were at the end of your career or you were a dog. And that's what the term was. You were the police or the real police, which is the hard charger going out there, running and gunning from the time the shift started till the time it ended.
There it is. There it is. You're either regular police or you're real police out there running and gunning from the beginning. Running and gunning. Jerome. Y'all in your secret words, man. All of these codes. Salute Felix Reyes in the chat. Appreciate you for joining us. Hundreds up. Everybody, please hit the like button. Running and gunning. Real police. He just copped to it. Running and gunning from the beginning. What does that mean? Running and gunning.
Backing up everybody, whether you liked them or not, whether you didn't agree with their thought process, or there was no black and white. There were some cops on the department. When I was in the 7th District, there were a couple white guys that they had nothing to do with the black coppers. They didn't want nothing to do with them, which I thought was the craziest thing, because you're like, I could care less what his color is when he comes to help me. You know, we're all blue. I could care less who's coming to help me as long as I hear that siren.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when he's coming to help you, but you're going to have dinner with him? You're going to let his kids hang out with your kids? You know what I mean? That's the difference. Of course you want anybody coming to save you. You're in a position to be saved. I mean, real police. Y'all expose yourselves. Clowns.
White, and somebody's coming in the hallway when I'm getting my ass kicked. I don't care if he's a black guy or he's a woman. I need help. There were some cops that were also black that were very militant. They let it be known that they didn't ride on your jobs. That's what the term is.
In this window of time, as you're going through all this action, you're getting better. Can you see a learning curve that's happening very quickly?
Oh, absolutely.
And you're wanting to hone that?
Absolutely. I had a great training officer, Marine, Jim Zigowitz. A little cranky when I first met him, but of course, he was a little cranky because he just came back from Hawaii. And here he is standing at the desk in the 7th District, 95 degrees out. I walk up. I asked. They said, who's your training officer? I said, Zigowitz or Jimmy Zigowitz. I go, oh, yeah, okay, Zigowitz. Yeah, there he is right there by the desk. So I walk up and stand there, and he's talking to somebody. I don't want to interrupt them. Small talk, bullshit. You know, I was Hawaii, and this guy's tan as could be. Big Polish guy. You know, they're bullshitting. He's like, yeah, you know, I wasn't happy about having to come back here. So, and I'm like, oh boy. He catches me out of the corner. I turns. He says, who are you? I go, I'm Finnegan. I'm your PPO, probationary police officer. All right. And that's all he says. All right. So he continues talking to the guy, and he says, come here. So we walk down. They open the door. There's a little half door they open, and there's somebody standing there, and he goes, here's your radio. He gives me a radio. He takes his radio, and then he takes the keys. I'm not driving. I'm brand new. He's fucking, he can't give me the keys. So we get in, and here, we got to search the car. So he shows me, you pull the back seat out. You check the car real good. Look with your flashlight, make sure, and he tells me what to do. Where you from, blah, blah, blah. Small talk. So he says, 721, so are you familiar with the beach yet? I said, got a beat map. I just got it. Didn't get a chance to look it over. He says, okay, well, you get time for that. He said, we go from the Dan Ryan Expressway to Hamilton Street, which is a couple blocks. It's a railroad tracks. They divide the district. So it's relatively small.
I'm looking at a heat map on the internet of the 7th District, and it is small. It's almost a perfect square.
Yeah, that in the 2nd District, too, because it was high in crime because it had all the CHA roads there. So it had a high density of crime, so they made it small.
Is the oil change indicator on your dashboard on?
Yeah. Real police running and gunning, taking anybody down, whether you like them or not.
We stopped some people, guys hanging out.
Firestone Complete Auto Care will help keep your car running right. Check out our selection of Pennzoil products at your local Firestone Complete Auto Care. Our expert technicians will help make sure you get the oil specifically designed for your car's particular make, model,
because I feel like this guy been in commercials since the 80s and shit.
And year. Call or make an appointment today at FirestoneCompleteAutoCare.com.
Firestone Complete Auto Care.
So anyway, we're driving around, and we stopped some people, guys hanging out on dope spots. These are known dope spots. 16th and Perry. I mean, this is his beat. This is his car. He works this every shift because he's a senior guy. At that time, he had 20 years on. Not the most talkative person, except for police stuff. When I first met him, no small talk. Didn't ask anything about my personal life, nothing like that. But a serious guy, kind of odd. Didn't have a vest on. I waited a while, and I finally asked him, I go, you're not wearing a vest? He goes, nah. I go, thought you had to wear a vest. He says, no, it's your choice. I said, oh, okay. I'm like, fuck, I ain't coming out there without a vest on. And I was a little nervous, to be honest with you, because this guy, no vest, he was an old-timer, man, 20-year veteran, and didn't stop him from chasing people, guns, didn't stop him from going into buildings. He was a Marine. He was probably seen a lot of shit in the Marine Corps, too, so kind of a gruff guy, trying to teach me the ropes.
Yeah, that was my question, is how friendly was he in wanting you to be a good cop?
He was serious. First day I met him, so he's not going to be my buddy. He's got a job. He worked 6 days at the time, 6 days on, 2 days off. Him and I were in the same day off group because he was my training officer. As the week's going, towards the end of the week, a little bit of small talk. What do you want to eat? After a little while, he's kind of easing up a little bit, kind of gauging me, seeing how I react with people and interact with them, telling me, don't do this, don't do that, watch this, watch that. Good guy. I mean, knows his stuff, because he's a veteran officer. I got him for 8 weeks. Probably about halfway through, starts to ease up a little bit, telling jokes, funny stuff. And him and I, now we're on days. We go around to days because it's 28 days. First thing I see with him, it's probably something major that happened. He sees a car. It's a Chrysler convertible, brand new. And there's 4 dudes in it. And they're driving over at like 64th and Sealy. There's a big basketball game on the street. And they come around the corner, to show off that they got this car. And he goes, we're going to stop these dudes. He says, that's not right. He says, I think it's a hot car. So he puts the lights on. The driver and the front passenger bail out. Now, this is pre-cops. I've never seen anybody jump out of a car while the car's in motion. So the guy jumps out, the driver, and then the passenger, and he goes, go get the driver. And I'm looking at him, he says, get out of the fucking car and get the driver. So I'm like looking, I'm like, what the fuck? This guy's running, leaving the car going like that, driving in gear? I run around the alley and this guy's hopping fences. I hop fences. I got all this shit on. It's fucking hot out. And he's got shorts and a sleeveless t-shirt on. Of course, we called them Dago tees back then, but you can't use that term anymore. Yeah, this dude dusts me. I mean, literally, dusts me. I mean, he's
called a tank top, man.
17 years old.
Can't call them wife beaters. Can't call them Dago tees. It's a tank, man.
The driver. And I'm looking at him, he says, get out of the fucking car and get the driver. So I'm like looking, I'm like, what the fuck? This guy's running, leaving the car going like that, driving in gear? I run around the alley and this guy's hopping fences. I hop fences. I got all this shit on. It's fucking hot out. And he's got shorts and a sleeveless t-shirt on. Of course, we called them Dago tees back then, but you can't use that term anymore. Yeah, this dude dusts me. I mean, literally, dusts me. I mean,
but he wants to. He wants to use that term on a regular basis. He's upset that you can't use that term anymore, for sure.
He's gone. Fucking 17 years old. I'm young, 25 years old. But, I mean, this guy has got nothing on. I'm wearing all this shit, man. This weight.
Excuses.
And he's got a long start on you.
Oh, yeah. Because, I didn't get out of the car for about 10 seconds because I'm like, what the fuck? That guy just jumped out of the... He goes, go get the guy driving. Oh, man. So I get out and run after the guy. But anyway, he gets away. Come back over there, these fucking guys are playing bad. They're all laughing and shit. The car smashed into a fucking light pole. They're all laughing at us. Come back. We got nothing to show for it, right? Except the car. It's got damage on it. And he's like, can you drive? So drive the fucking car into the station. So go into the station. We go in there and we run the VIN. And sure enough, it was stolen from the dealership the day before on Western Avenue. They took a bunch of cars all the time over there.
What do you mean they took a bunch of cars over there? This was where they'd unload vehicles? And
those auto dealerships started at 67th, which was Marquette Road. They went for a couple blocks to brand new dealerships. Then you had a million used car dealerships. Most of the Arab people would have those. You were buying them, and people were going there buying them for like 28% and then get them repoed like a month later. These guys would go in and break into dealerships. They'd find the keys in a strong box somewhere or whatever. They'd get them out, and they drive off the lot, chains across the exits and the entryways. But they got them out of there. They were always taking cars brand new, whether it was the Chrysler, the Ford, the Chevys. These dealerships would report 3-4 cars missing a week, and these guys would be out joyriding them or using them. Not so much in drive-bys back then, joyriding them. So I take the car in the station, like the VIN number off it. It has no plate. So when we ran it on the car, the computer came up slowly. They had what was called a computer car. So they had like maybe 3 or 4 of them in the district. And he tells me to fill out the report. and he was getting a cup of coffee. I come out to ask him a question, and he's up there talking about me. I can hear him. This fucking stupid fucker sitting in the car, and the guy's fucking running down the alley. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I go, I zig. He says, yo, what? And I said, I got to.
He thought his daddy Ziggy was gonna. You know, if he wasn't gonna give him props, he didn't think he'd be out there talking shit about him. But you gotta understand the culture of these guys, man. They just, oh gosh, you just want to talk. Who's tougher? Who's shittier? Who's this? They're a bunch of dudes on the corner. It's the same deal. They're the same thing, though. They're the same people. Real police.
Question for you. He's like, I'll be in there in a minute. So, you know, I felt like a moron.
I mean, did it feel like a rite of passage and it was inevitable?
Yeah, because, I mean, you're brand new and you do dumb stuff, and everybody does dumb stuff. This is before on TV they had these cop shows where they show dudes doing that. Hey, listen, man, I never seen anybody bail out of a stolen car before. You know what I mean? It was the craziest thing. The guy left the car in gear. Then, as you got more experience, sometimes they'd get out and they'd throw the car in reverse so it hit the squad car when you were behind them. Get your airbag to go off. The more you do stuff, the more you would see stuff, the better you would get at it. Hey, I wouldn't say, grew up in the city, I grew up in Bridgeport. My younger, and then after high school, went back there for a while. So I had a little bit of street sense, not so much somebody jumping out of a car. You could tell when someone's BSing you. These guys are lying to you. You grab somebody on the street, the first thing you learn, even as a new guy, this guy's running.
See, now he said, you know, I'm from Bridgeport. I had a little bit of street sense, but not enough sense to know that they're going to jump out of a moving car, right? You know, you pick up the sense of, you know, when somebody's BSing you. No, you didn't know. You didn't know. You just chose and said somebody's BSing me every fucking time. That's what you did. You tell me a time you felt like somebody wasn't lying to you. That probably never happened because you programmed yourself to call bullshit on everybody. You know what I mean? And then when somebody calls bullshit on you, you got mad excuses. You weren't overweight. It was because they had too many white cops. You weren't an alcoholic. It's because you had too many brothers. You know, all of these things. Like, come on, man. You didn't jump when your daddy Ziggy told you to because I didn't have the street, you know, smarts to. I didn't see that nobody bailed out of cars. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about, bro?
Now, Neil, they take their clothes off. It's the middle of summer, and they're wearing 3 shirts and 2 pairs of shorts. And that's not because they want to be comfortable. They run from the police because they're doing bullshit.
Switch clothes.
So the minute they run from the police, they're shedding their skin like snakes. They're ripping that T-shirt off. And they're ripping another T-shirt off. And they're taking the shorts off. So you're giving a description. You got a male black, 6'2". He's got a white T-shirt on, and he's got red shorts, white gym shoes. Now, this guy's running or sitting somewhere, and he's got green shorts on, and he's got a blue shirt, and he's trying to blend in.
That's his street smarts.
Exactly. And the funniest thing was, most of the time, you would think they'd run and run and run and run to get away. And I would say about 95% of the time, they would run and hide. They'd either go under a porch, they'd go in a garage, hide under a car, run up into a house that didn't belong to them. Yeah, I mean, they were smart. You'd chase them through a vacant lot, and they, just like a rabbit, they'd double right back around down the other gangway. I mean, you could be positive that 99% of the time, they would run, every dude, no matter who it was, would run that same track. They'd run around the building and come back out the front on the other gangway or the other vacant lot.
And then you start figuring that out, and you just go over there and wait?
Yeah, your other guys would be up there waiting for them. You'd have a couple guys chasing them with you, and then...
Yeah, you sitting there deducting and figuring out patterns, but so are they. You know, so are they. They figured, let's not bail anymore. Let's throw it in reverse and bang up the squad car and make their airbags go off. Let's change it. Let's rip these clothes out. Let's circumvent these gangways. And at the same time, you figuring out, because it's all the same thing. They smart, you smart, right? Or they figure it out, you figure it out. Because you ain't no different than them, bro. Shout out Yael in the chat. Finally made it to the live. Keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for being here. Make sure you hit the like button. We're doing Finnegan's Take episode 2, and he's talking about how he got into the game. Now, I want y'all to notice something. Episode 1, when he was talking about his family and his parents and all of this, he had a certain kind of language that he was using, and now by the time he's gotten to, the moment he got into the police academy or the moment he got into his precinct, he started throwing the fuck word around a lot. It's like, it's just that how can I put it? It's that environment, it's that feeling. You feel like a badass when you talk about it. You know what I'm saying? He starts talking different. He's a tough guy now. You know what I mean? Not when he was talking about daddy. But again, he had to learn. He wanted to learn how to be real police, and he was in Inglewood learning it.
The other guys would be out front. You have a guy in a car, you know. Some of these guys were so fast, it was very difficult to catch them unless they laid down. Unless they were hiding in an abandoned garage, unless they were hiding in an abandoned house in the basement because they were tired out eventually. It was cat and mouse. When you became the police and you eventually learned through experience, it's pretty hard to fool you. You saw the same bullshit game over and over again. Sometimes you get one who was a little ingenious and they come up with something original. And you have to give them credit for it because they came up with something nobody else did before. The stuff that you've seen out there and then being in these neighborhoods was pretty amazing. But anyway, so Jim and I finished up after our 8 weeks. They can recommend.
You gotta give them the credit for it. You gotta give them the credit for it. You know what I'm saying? You gotta give them the credit for it. And then what you do, you learn from it. Why? Because cat and mouse. And then at some point, in that cat and mouse, that cat gets a little bit more ratty. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a mouse. It's actually a rat. And that's what he turned into. Do
an additional 4 weeks or you're ready to go on. Not on your own, because you can't work on your own until you're off probation, which is a year at the time. Now I think it's 18 months. So when I was complete with him, then you're working on the watch. When you're done with your training officer, if you're fortunate, you'll work with some guys whose partners are on vacation, which is called furlough on the police department in Chicago. You're lucky enough to work with somebody who's a regular on the watch. That's a good deal. But if you're not, then like there's guys that don't go around with the watch, they're on straight midnights or whatever. So you're working on their watch now, and they don't have a partner because nobody wants to work with them. And those are the guys you get stuck with until you pretty much are done. Not so much with your probation, but until the sergeants they'll report and say, yeah, he could probably partner with somebody. You know, you're stuck.
Now, why doesn't anybody want to work with those specific cops? Is it because those cops won't take nothing? Is it because they won't steal? Is it because they won't cheat? Are those cops that keep their nose clean, are they alienated? Of course they are. Of course they are.
With people. You're working with the people that nobody want to work with.
And you quickly find out why.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They got some bad habits. They don't want to work. I got stuck working the wagon, which was, the squad roll. They put 3 squad rolls up in the district when it was going. Minimum 2. Now you're lucky if you got 1. They're there. They just don't man them.
Explain that to me. What is a squad roll?
Yeah, squad roll is the term that came from New York and other cities because they would call it the paddy wagon.
Sure.
Paddy. And the reason for that was because most of the time the drunk Irishman would go in it. So they called it the paddy wagon. Official term in Chicago is called, the wagon. And you had dedicated guys who wanted to work the wagon because the wagon, even though you had guys that were good guys and they'd respond and back you up in the wagon, most of the time the wagon guys, they weren't hard chargers. They'd get on it, especially if you said, squad, get into a wagon over here on the double. Instead of saying, squad, we got a 10-1 over here. Get us some help. We're screaming. 10-1 is a term for you need help immediately. If you had a good wagon crew, they would be over to help you. Get that guy, fight with him, get him in a wagon too. Before Chicago, which probably within the last, it might be 10 years, they contract out dead bodies. That was the responsibility of the wagon crews. Whether it was a burn victim, a homicide victim, hit and run victim, heart attacks, people driving to work have a heart attack.
Only experiences I've ever had with the wagon was getting thrown in there, was getting the brakes slammed on us, not even getting buckled into the back, getting thrown around. And that was the same kind of thing that they did to Freddie Gray. And they broke him into pieces back there. And they murdered him. Okay? That's the wagon. That's what the wagon do.
They go in the squad roll. They're dead already. The ambulance comes, he's deceased. The DOA, dead on arrival. So the wagon would take them to the medical exam. Very undignified. Put you on a canvas stretcher, put you down in the bed of the wagon. They're not going to fill it because you're dead, but you're getting bounced around like high heaven. And then it had 2 bench seats in there for putting prisoners or transporting cops.
You see that? You get tossed around back there. Yeah, no big deal. How many times did you get tossed around back there, Jerome Finnegan? It's no big deal. You get tossed around back there. No big deal? Okay.
Times when there was a civil unrest, they would utilize the wagons to take 10 cops over somewhere real quick. They redesigned it because they had some lawsuits. Let's say the TAC team in the 7th District, which I was a member of, you go out and you tell these guys, get off the corner because you got truly good people trapped in those neighborhoods. People that work for a living, and when they come home, they're prisoners because they can't sit on their porches because they're told by the gangbangers, go in your house. These thugs are up and down the street with guns and selling dope. They're not making $500 for the day and calling it a great day, Neil. They're making thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in a day.
Why you mad, Jerome?
So when it comes to that kind of money, people are going to get hurt or killed when they don't listen to them, or burned out.
What does burned out mean?
Burned out, like set their house on fire.
Yeah.
Suspicious fires, back porch is a warning. Back porch gets set on fire. Mind your own business. Call the police, you're going to have a problem. Shooting through windows. So you got kids in the house, and so you're going to do what you say. You're a prisoner. There were a lot of good people. I'd go looking down a gangway, and someone would be in the screen. Look under the back. Look under the back by those tires back there. Okay, thank you. Walk back there. You got the guys over there in front. They're handcuffed. You go back there, turn the tire over. There's 20 big bags of dope, or there's a couple pistols stuck under there. They hated these guys as much as you did. The good people that were living there were trapped. Children who couldn't play because they had to worry about stray gunfire. But a lot of times they were out there anyway. And what are you going to tell a kid? You can't go out and play? Little girls jumping a rope in front of them.
And don't get me wrong. For as much as I defend the criminal element, I don't think everybody. I think there's criminals that are pieces of shit. You know what I'm saying? Then there's criminals that, hey, they got to get it how they can get it. There's people that got to get it how they live. But there's some that's piece of shit that don't deserve any, good word from me, right? And we talk about them like the Sauls of the world and shit like that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We talking about a cop that swore to serve and protect, right? Became the criminal that he so hated and hunted down, but wants to tell us he got a million different reasons for it. That's what I'm talking about here. And to me, there is no reason, bruh. The reason was you was a criminal, dog. That's it. Don't front. Don't tell me about you was the police. None of that. Real police. None of that. You was a criminal, bruh. Simple.
The house, and you got these thugs standing there selling dope 3-4 houses down. It's terrible, man. It really is. It's a vicious, vicious cycle. Get the orders from the Tulsa sergeants. Listen, man. Get a lot of heat from the commander. I want this block cleared up. So you go over there, and I've heard this happens with the wagon. One warning. First of all, they know you're not fucking around because they see 3 unmarked cars and 2 guys in regular clothes driving a wagon. So they need a wagon driving through with 2 guys when you're doing shit. They know you're in some business. So they're told, get off the street. You're going to be told one time. Okay. And they're idiots because they're not getting off the street. So you go somewhere, and I've been told 5 minutes later, the wagon comes through again, and now everyone's out getting handcuffed. And now they're going to jail. But it's 90 degrees out. So on the wagon, maybe that heater switch isn't working correctly.
Right.
So the back of that wagon is real hot. Maybe the wagon.
Until somebody die, whose position is it for you to bake anybody in the back of a fucking wagon? You're there to arrest people. You are not there to be judge, jury, and executioner. You're not there to make decisions on punishments. You're not there for none of that shit. Do your fucking job. Cause here's what happens. Then somebody dies in the back of that fucking paddy wagon, and you got mad excuses. You got mad excuses. Right? And then you get away with it because you are who you are, and we are who we are, right? You get away with it. I mean, and then somebody just died for nothing. Somebody that was probably an innocent kid just hanging out with somebody, and then he gets swept up and he end up in the back of the truck, and now it's 90 degrees outside, and then you turn up the heat 90 degrees in the wagon, and then somebody died back there, and then you're like, I had nothing to do with it, and it don't lay on your conscience. Well, I wish that for your children. I do. Because who the fuck are you? It's crazy to me.
Guys are thirsty, so they drive over and they're going to pick up drinks for everybody because they're going in and they're going to process these guys. And they're like, hey, you want a cold soda? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop at the store, go in there and get a bunch of sodas. In the meantime,
all right. So did I jump the gun? No. He said he turned up the heat, then they get thirsty. So what? Now you just tricking them into ratting their boy out for a Coke. Is that what's happening here? Either way, dog.
There's in there and that
you made them thirsty. Not your fucking place to make nobody thirsty. You thirsty, thief.
Maybe that heater switch isn't working correctly.
Of course.
So
of course it's not working correctly. Of course it's not working correctly. Same as your alcoholism is due to the famine mentality in your household because you had so many siblings. Same way that it was reverse affirmative action. Same way it wasn't that you were a fat ass. It was reverse affirmative action. It's just excuses, bro.
It's real hot. Maybe the wagon guys are thirsty, so they drive over and they're going to pick up drinks for everybody because they're going in and they're going to process these guys. And they're like, hey, you want a cold soda? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop at the store, go in there and get a bunch of sodas. In the meantime, your partner's in there, and this is what I've been told. The heat's on, and you can hear, because there's a vent up top, but that vent happens to be closed. And you can hear yelling in there, it's hot in this motherfucker, let us out, this and that. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. By the time you get into the station...
You hear this, bitch? I don't know if that's true. In the chat, let me know how many of y'all believe that this asshole don't know if it's true. If this is just something that he heard from somebody, right? Because maybe not. Maybe he was never a paddy wagon guy, right? So he probably did hear firsthand from the paddy wagon guy that picked up the guy that he threw in the back of the paddy wagon. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's torture.
It looks like a fucking slip and slide when you open that back door. They come rolling out of there, slip and sliding. That's how fucking hot it was. They're going to remember that because they're not going to go back on that corner for a while or on that block. They don't want to go through that hot ride again.
They're going to remember that. So it was on you, not the judicial system that's already flawed and fucked up. It took you. It took you putting the boiler on in the back for them to not want to get back. They're not going to be on that corner for a while. Fuck you, punk. You know what I'm saying? Who are you? You not the judge and the jury. You not the executioner. You the pig that's sent to pick them up. That's your job. To sit around and be like, because the heater's broken. Bitch, we hear the cop in you right now. We hear it in you right now. Nothing wrong with the heater. Because them two fat pigs in the front seat are going to make sure nothing wrong with the heater. Because their fat ass ain't trying to bake in the paddy wagon. You know what I'm saying? So I get frustrated at this attitude of who you think you are, the arrogance of who you think you are, that you're going to bake human beings in the back of a truck and throw people around like that. You know what I'm saying? And feel like you did something. You a hoe. You a bully. That's all you are. And you got the back. You're a sociopath with the backing of the city that you work in. The city hall, the government that you work for. That's all you are. You're the same thing that you're baking in the back of that truck. You're the same thing that they are. Except you're cheating. You're backed by the city that you work for. Fuck out of here.
But those days are over. Unfortunately, the camera killed everything. But that vent happens to be closed. And you can hear her yelling in there, it's hot in this motherfucker, let us out, this and that.
No, Yael, don't delete that shit. That shit was funny.
I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. By the time you get into the station, it looks like a fucking slip and slide when you open that back door. They come rolling out of there, slip and sliding. That's how fucking hot it was. They're going to remember that because they're not going to go back on that corner for a while or on that block. They don't want to go through that hot ride again.
But then you call them even more animal when they want revenge on you for doing that to them. Because you think your arrogance allows you to believe, well, why are they mad at me? Look what they do to us. They throw things at us and they call us pig and they do this and they do that. I wonder why, stupid.
But those days are over. Unfortunately, the camera killed everything. And I like to say, BC, before cameras.
BC.
That was when policing was good.
It was good.
Because then you could make sure that you police thoroughly.
This guy's delusional. He shouldn't even be out of jail. This dude's a lunatic, a psychopath, a sociopath. Both, same time. He's a nut. He's a nut before cameras. Because that's when you could do good policing. That's when you could bake dudes and stomp them out. I see people all the time. I saw Elijah McClain get murdered by 2 police officers on camera. Live. Shot him up with ketamine. Whatever the hell they shot him up with. When all that kid did was put on a ski mask to keep the wind off of his face and go buy his brother a drink at the local 7-Eleven. That's all he did. None of it illegal. Did that on camera. Okay? George Floyd, we watched George Floyd on camera, watched his lights go out in front of us. While Jerome's other brother, Derek Chauvin, stared us down in the camera while he did it. So don't talk this before camera when you could do good policing shit. No, before cameras where you couldn't be held accountable for your actions and the shit that you do. I mean, okay? You're just mad because now the people that back you, they've evolved and they turn the camera on you. You'd love to have the camera on the other guy. You'd love that. But except now we know that you peel off clothing. Now we know that you run circles through gangways. Now we're watching you. But you're going to sit here and say that's when it was good policing before cameras. When you were able to crush a skull and nobody cared. Fuck out of here.
Not so much anymore. And then the consent decree with fucking Madigan's sellout daughter.
I want to pause here.
Look, he's mad. He's mad.
That's how fucking hot it was. They're going to remember that because they're not going to go back on that corner for a while or on that block. They don't want to go through that hot ride again. But those days are over. Unfortunately, the camera killed everything. And I like to say, BC, before cameras. That was when policing was good. Because then you could make sure that you police thoroughly. Not so much anymore. And then the consent decree with fucking Madigan's sellout daughter.
I want to pause here a moment and talk about the consent decree. Consent decree, and I'm reading from chicago.gov. A consent decree is a court-approved settlement that resolves a legal dispute between parties. This consent decree requires the Chicago Police Department and the City of Chicago to reform training, policies, and practices in a number of important areas such as use of force, community policing, impartial policing, training, accountability, officer wellness, data and information systems, and more. The goal is to ensure that the CPD reforms constitutional and effective policing that keeps both community members and officers safe and restores the community's trust in the CPD. A consent decree is something that police in general do not like, at least the ones I've spoken to and what you can read in the media. This is
because they don't want to be held accountable for their actions. They don't want to be Derek Chauvin getting poked up in a joint. They don't want to be that. They want to be able to do that to you with impunity. That's why they don't like it. So they could kiss my entire ass. Consent decree, bitch. He mad at Madigan's daughter. Madigan's sellout daughter. Guess what? I'll let you in on something. If Mr. Finnegan thought that he can get away with it, doing something to Madigan's daughter without getting found out, he'd do it because he's a psychopath. Because he's still mad about it. After doing prison time for being a dirty piglet, he's still mad about it. That's crazy to me. That's his arrogance. That right there is showing you who he is. He's showing you who he is. He don't want nobody to know no different. This ain't no PR campaign. If it is, he's fucking failing miserably. I got a lot of editing to do because I'm upset right now because this guy's full of shit. You know? But it's like, the part that annoys me is that they don't see their own arrogance. That they'll look down on me, but praise and salute themselves and each other. Like, come on, man. Get off your little dicks.
This is not something the police want to be governed under. So this is the initial incident that started the wheels in motion for the current consent decree. And Jerry refers to a woman named Lisa Madigan. She was the Attorney General of the state of Illinois who was instrumental in agreeing to and implementing the current consent decree. She is not the Attorney General currently in 2023. She decided not to run again, and I'll detail that in a moment. But let's start with how this consent decree was put in motion or why it was put in motion. And I'm reading from a CBS news article from...
It's put in motion because I come from a city that covers up murders that the police commit. You know what I'm saying? This city has been caught with their hands in the cookie jar. This city's been caught doing this. So it's like...
July 27th, 2018, and I'll post a link to this article. The Emanuel administration and Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan have reached an agreement on a proposed court order that would govern sweeping changes at the Chicago Police Department. The proposed court agreement comes in response to a 2017 report by the U.S. Department of Justice that found systemic abuses of minorities by Chicago police officers and woefully insufficient training and oversight of the force. And then there's a timeline. The key event, there's a couple, but on October 20th, 2014, Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke shoots 17-year-old Laquan McDonald while responding to reports of a person with a knife. This was a controversial incident, to say the least. I think some would argue it brought down Rahm Emanuel's mayorship or why he didn't run again. But there's a detail here of how this consent decree came into existence, and there's a moment here which I think is interesting.
That's one of the murders we covered up right there, city of Chicago.
Interesting, where you have at the time in 2017 the Attorney General of the United States is Jeff Sessions, and he refuses to implement, so let me be specific. April 4th, 2017, Attorney General Jeff Sessions issues a memo calling into question whether the Justice Department will monitor reforms at the Chicago Police Department. Sessions says local law enforcement should be responsible for determining the best practices for policing, not the federal government. Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Chicago police brass say reform should move forward with or without a federal consent decree. Well, ultimately, as we know, out goes Jeff Sessions, and on July 27th, 2018, Attorney General Lisa Madigan and Mayor Rahm Emanuel announced a proposed consent decree regarding police reforms. July 27th, 2018, Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan and Mayor Rahm Emanuel announced a proposed consent decree regarding police reform. So that is, in a nutshell, the consent decree that Jerry is referring to.
Jerry mad.
One other note of importance is, who is Lisa Madigan? Lisa Madigan, as you know, is the Attorney General of the state of Illinois, but she did not run again for another term. Whether or not she would have won, I don't know what the numbers were indicating, but we do know her father is arguably one of the most powerful people in the history of Illinois politics. He was the Speaker of the House in Illinois, and he is in deep shit. Let me read about him. Former Illinois House Speaker indicted on racketeering and bribery charges. Michael J. Madigan, the former Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives.
Remember, I said this at the beginning of maybe during the paperwork party. Chicago is not called the Windy City because of the wind that we got here. And we got strong winds here. Chicago is called the Windy City because of blowhard politicians blowing hot air out their ass. Okay? Their ass. All right? Blowing that hot air into the back of paddy wagons, you know, baking people in the name of the police. So this whole shit is corrupt. So I can't have a bunch of criminals in politics, a bunch of criminals with badges, pointing at some criminal that's selling dime bags. To me, that shit don't add up. Y'all can kiss my entire ass. It don't add up. All y'all the same. Democrat, Republican, same shit. The whole thing.
Representatives was indicted by a grand jury Wednesday on 22 federal charges related to racketeering.
Look at Lisa Madigan's daddy. Shut down. Felix Reyes said, or also said, Chicago's finest showing you their true colors. Facts. Felix Reyes said, that's why I fuck with you. Because you call it for what it is. I get frustrated, dog. Also said, them are the facts. Yeah, I laughed. Took it back. But I'm not letting that slide. Also said, what a dick. Facts. Another crook. Yeah. Little Lisa Madigan's daddy.
Bribery and attempted extortion.
Not bribery and extortion.
Indictment accuses Madigan of using...
Wait a minute. So kind of like the same thing that Saul did, huh? So who's the criminal? Oh, they didn't kidnap. What them police did? Well, not really. They were arresting. But they tortured. Didn't they torture? Oh, man. Everybody's a crook.
His political power to obtain bribes and steer business toward his private Chicago law firm. Many of the allegations in the indictment relate to claims that Madigan illegally influenced the Commonwealth Edison Company, Northern Illinois, Primary Electric Utility, et cetera, et cetera. There's more detail here. I'll post a link to it. I believe there was a conclusion in the ComEd indictments with people at ComEd and the CEO stepping down. It's just a fucking mess, as you could imagine. Chicago politics are. Madigan was in power, I think, longer than maybe anyone. A Democrat from, I believe, a South Side area. Most of you listening know the history and details. Those that don't should look into it. It's fascinating, but it's all part of this common cycle in Illinois and Chicago and the power brokers. Back to Jerry.
There's some ways individuals can be not coerced, but can strongly enforce the idea of them not to be out there. But those days are over. That's why there's 400 fucking kids running up and down Michigan Avenue burning cars and shooting people.
Right. And guess what? I don't agree with 400 kids running up and down Michigan Avenue, tearing up businesses and this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think it's right for the police to, stand and firing squad them. I don't think it's right for the police to throw them in paddy wagons and bake them. I don't think they should take them to an off-site warehouse and torture them and question them without, cameras and none of that. I don't think that's right. I don't care what they're doing. All right, all these kids breaking shit is a product of thieving government that has kept people in underneath the poverty line forever. All right, a system that makes these kids are willing to steal that Jordan just to not get the ridicule. You know what I'm saying? Just to not get the ridicule of they wearing Skechers. That's something that our culture created. You know what I'm saying? The same way slavery led to families that have been in poverty for fucking 400 years. Slavery led to a whole lot of things that they want to ignore. You know what I'm saying? The way this country was built, they want to ignore it and act like they had nothing to do with it. Right? While they line their pockets. You spread some of that money out, people be less desperate and less willing to take out their brother for $20. But y'all don't get that part because y'all are sheep and piglets, sheep, rats. We got to find that hybrid. It's like a weird demon Pokemon character and shit.
Anymore.
In future conversations, we're definitely going to get into the state of today of Chicago, which is every day changing for not the better.
But it's never coming back, Neil. I guarantee it.
I really want to dive into your headspace.
The good old days where we could bake people in the back of wagons and stomp them out and just leave bodies strewn wherever we want to leave them. Those days are over. That was the BC days, before camera, before Madigan, before consent decrees. Come on, man. Shut your punk ass up, Jerome.
It's because I think you are uniquely positioned to talk about it.
Uniquely.
Was there a mission statement for the Chicago police as to what they needed to do in this window of time? Meaning, we got a drug problem. We got a gang problem. We got a this problem. Was there a mission statement that was narrow and specific, or was it, this is a city, it's a fucked up place, we just police?
You know, I know this sounds crazy, but I would have to say, up until maybe
cameras
2015, 2018, the police in the city of Chicago, I don't know about other cities, the Chicago police controlled the city. You have a policeman killed, shot, jumped on, fights, bad guy, 99% of the time was the loser, or got caught and went away. We had complete autonomy over the city at one time. Truly. We knew the guys are out there, they're selling drugs. You're not going to stop it. You're not going to stop the drugs because of the demand for it. But my thing was, and a lot of guys, we said the same thing. We go out there and tell these guys, listen, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Don't give a fuck. You want to sell drugs? Because I'm going to tell you something. If I catch you, you're going to prison. But I'll be honest with you. You want to sell drugs, you do what you're going to do. The minute you start fucking shooting out here, and with these kids on the street and all that stuff, you're never going to sell drugs on this block again. Especially in SOS. I'm not saying all the district guys, because the district guys had good control too. But in SOS, they'd send us out, and we'd go on these blocks, and we'd tell them,
we're tough guys. We go on these blocks. We let them know we're SOS. We're not these regular guys. Shut your bitch ass up, man. You just wanted power. You wanted to be a gang like everybody else, dog. That's all it was. And you wanted to play outside the lines of the rules. That's what you wanted to do. You a cheating ass gang member. You doing it with protection. You got a ringer. You're a sucker.
That ain't happening today, man. Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah, okay, we'll see. I've heard stories about having a fight with some of these people out on the street. You know, yeah, you're going to get your lumps. Coppers are going to get hurt. They're going to have to go to the hospital. They're going to have to get stitches sometimes. They're going to be the winners at the end, but not anymore.
I've heard you talk about this in the past, which was getting the guns off the streets. That was priority number one.
Plain spoken English. I would tell these dudes, I would say, listen to me. People know what's going on out there. They live on. They see what you're doing every day. Okay, you're going to sell drugs. Okay, that's your business. Okay, I like, as long as it's not where I catch you doing it, you're going to jail. I can't be here every minute of the day. But when you start bringing the guns in this play here, you're shooting on the street, or you kill somebody out here because there was a fight or whatever, you just fucked your business up. Because now you've got all the pressure in the world on you because it's going to come down like a hammer. And it did. And if they shot a policeman, the superintendent of police would demand that there would be a war on that particular gang that was responsible for that policeman being shot.
Now, what does that mean?
Or,
what does that war mean? Does that mean torture? Does that mean you arrest them? Or does that mean you investigate them? Or does it mean you throw them in the back of the wagon, turn up the heat, hit the brakes, go 90, hit the brakes again, take them to an off-site warehouse, torture them? What does that mean that we at war? You know what I'm saying? You declared war. What does that mean? You guys like talking all that. You like using street terms for your shit. You know what I mean? Salute to Think Like a Kingpin in the chat. You know? Nah, this dude is a sociopath today. Today. I'm telling you, Jerome Finnegan, you a sociopath. Today. Not just then. Not just when you was Tony Tough Guy with your gun, standing over the dude with the antlers on, with your fat ass. Not just then. Today, you're a sociopath, bro.
Killed. It didn't make a difference. Because that was a major fuck up. If you shot the police or shot at the police, there was high hell to pay for that. It might not happen immediately as far as like indictments go, but you would see 6 months down the road or a year down the road, there'd be a big sweep by gang intelligence or the gang specialists. And they would go up and round up these guys with the help of SOS or the district TAC teams or whatever. And all of a sudden you'd see in the newspaper or on the news that 10 Spanish Cobras were indicted, 30 Spanish Cobras, 20 Latin Kings, 16 GDs in this area. Because you know what? Then they worked them hard and they put these dudes away because they crossed the line. It's bad enough they kill people out here, their own guys, and these thugs are shooting it out with each other. They kill innocent victims or children, or worse yet, the police. That's when the hammer would come down on them.
Wait. He said, or worse yet, the police. Right? So, police who put themselves in the line of fire, right? Who decide to serve and protect, right? Who know that they can not come home any given night, right? He just put that cop that decided to step into this war above innocent people and children. That just shows you where his fucking head is at, right? You kill that innocent person and that baby, that's one thing. You get one of these cops and we're going to war. You're a dork, bro. Sitting in your lazy boy, you're a dork right now.
Not so much anymore, I don't think.
That concludes conversation 2.
Hold on. Let's go do that
Indicted
again.
30 Spanish Cobras, 20 Latin Kings, 16 GDs in this area. Because you know what? Then they worked them hard and they put these dudes away because they crossed the line. It's bad enough they kill people out here, their own guys, and these thugs are shooting it out with each other. They kill innocent victims or children, or worse yet, the police. That's when the hammer would come down on them.
Or worse yet, police, children. Nah, man, I think a baby dying from a gunshot is much worse than the police. Police signed up for it. Baby didn't even make a decision to be here. You know what I mean? Stupid. You say stupid shit. You're going to look at me crazy because I'm calling you on it. Shut up.
Not so much anymore, I don't think.
That concludes conversation 2.
That's it. That's it for episode 2 of Finnegan's Take. First half was one thing. Second half got me fired up because he's saying stupid shit. But he's saying what I would expect to be said from that kind of cop. Salutes PR Black in the chat on the check-in. Salutes to you, brother. Thank you for being here. We're not done yet. I just had a whole rant on Mr. Jerome Finnegan's dumb ass. Because you'd expect somebody that's coming to tell their story after they've already done time for being a dirty piglet, leader of the Piglet Brigade with his son Keith Herrera. You would think that they had some kind of humility, but this fool wants to sit in here and say, oh, there's before cameras, BC, and then there's after. That's you can only be good police before cameras. Right, because you can only be abusive and unaccountable before cameras. You're stupid. You're a psychopath. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about here, dummy? And then he said that, oh, you know, the heater's not working or the heater's working too good and people in the back of the paddy wagon baking to death back there. Like, he's judge, jury, and execution. Like, he got some place to do this kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, who are you, dog? You're just a loser from wherever you came from, dog. You ain't no different than anybody else. It's your arrogance. It is what it is. You ain't no different than a member of the cartel that boils people or puts people on, ties people to trees or kidnap. You're no different than a Saul that kidnaps people and extorts them. You're no different than anybody selling any kind of dope out there. Nothing. You are no different, dog. You are them. There was a cop somewhere that needed to come get your punk ass. Period. Then he said, because, you know, it's one thing if they smoke each other out there. It's one thing if they smoke each other and their associates out there. And if, you know, and innocent people and babies, or even worse, a police officer. Sorry, baby didn't sign up to be in some, you know, war with the streets. You did, punk. So, what are you talking about? Sorry, y'all. Wow. Fucker got me mad. How y'all doing out there, man? Hope everybody's having a good, what's today, Thursday? Today is Thursday. Hope y'all having a good December 28th. It's my abuelita's birthday. May she forever and eternally rest in peace until I see her again. We hanging out. Hit the like button for me, please. We are not done yet. We just did Finnegan's Take. I'll be editing that after this live is over and putting that out there and getting demonetized over it. But we in here, so make sure that y'all hit the like button. And if you have yet to subscribe, make sure you subscribe. We hanging out. We about to do Cartel Wives Chapter 16. Because why not? I missed out on yesterday because I wasn't feeling well. But today would be the perfect time to do it. So if y'all still sticking with me, I appreciate y'all. If y'all bouncing, I appreciate y'all too. Just make sure you hit the like button. Again, I have my true crime playlist. There's 88 videos in the chat that are that's pinned to the top. There's a link right there to a playlist of me covering more bad cops and even dumb criminals. Listen, criminals don't get off the hook here either. You know what I mean? Especially dumb ones. You know. But so make sure y'all check out that playlist, Shy Reacts True Crime playlist. And it's up there. Salutes to Oso, R.I.P. Abuelita. But yeah, that playlist is up there, so I appreciate y'all. We are on and popping. So now we are going to move on to what is quickly outdoing or outperforming, or I should say just getting comments from people saying that they're enjoying it more. People out there saying that they're enjoying Cartel Wives more than they did Surviving El Chapo. Like I said, I enjoy both because the amalgamation of the two gives me information that I didn't have before, and I appreciate that. So that's pretty dope. So we're going to switch it on over by Al to our favorite Cartel Wives, and we're going to get into Chapter 16. Again, I appreciate y'all for being here. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, hit the notification bell, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. We out here, we're trying to grow this channel and get things popping for 2024. We're trying to be at least 15, 20,000 subs by the end of 2024. We going into 2024. I wish I could have 5,000 by New Year's, but I doubt that. We got 4,619 subscribers. I wish I could get 5,000 by New Year's, but we're trying by the end of 2024, we're trying to have at least 15,000 subscribers on this channel. So let's see how that works. I appreciate y'all. We got Vic said, let's go. Chapter 16 should be good. PR Black said, let's go. So we are on and we are popping. Let's get it. Chapter 16, no matter what the book is about to say, this is chapter 16 of Cartel Wives. Last episode was they kidnapped the old man. Theo Lupe kidnapped the old man and a 3-year-old baby, you know. Or as Jerome Finnegan would say, even worse would be, forget the 3-year-old baby, even worse would be if he kidnapped a cop. Ooh, shut your dumb ass up. But yeah, so Theo Lupe kidnapped the father and the baby, and then they got the baby back. So, you know, they got the baby and the old man back. But Theo Lupe, his luck ran out. Chapo took care of Theo Lupe, and that was it. So again, the father, the twins, the baby, everybody reunited. Not that they messed with that baby anyway, because that baby was from the other side. PR Black says, share the live. I agree, brother. Share the live. Share the live. Share the playlists. Share the videos. If you guys have not gone through my channel and taking a good look, take a good look, please. There's other things there. There's other playlists there, things that I think you'll enjoy. Here we go. Chapter 16, Cartel Wives.
Chapter 14.
You lying.
The peak of their careers. Olivia. Junior and Peter's peak year was 2006. By early that winter, their business had started growing faster than they ever imagined, and they were Sinaloa's and the BLO's golden boys. One of the main reasons it happened was because they took advantage of opportunities and connections that no one else had. Chapo and El Mayo were sending Junior and Pete 400 kilos, minimum, every 5 days, which was unheard of. Most months they averaged selling 2,000 to 3,000 here was 2006. By early that winter, their business had started growing faster than they ever imagined, and they were Sinaloa's and the BLO's golden boys. One of the main reasons it happened was because they took advantage of opportunities and connections that no one else had. Chapo and El Mayo were sending Junior and Pete 400 kilos, minimum, every 5 days, which was unheard of. Most months they averaged selling 2,000 to 3,000 kilos. But one time, they broke the record and sold 2 tons in 10 days. Jeez. In Chicago, they'd sold 1,000 to 2,000 kilos a month. As for prices, they typically paid $15,000 a kilo.
That's a lot. Damn. Wow. Tons.
Each load, the cartels allowed them to buy 10% at cost as an incentive, which was $10,000 per kilo. This was just insane. The cartels could mark up anything they wanted to, but for Peter and Junior, they actually gave them a steep discount. Chapo and Mayo insisted on sending them 20 tons of weed, but my husband and brother-in-law didn't want to sell it because the weed was too bulky and smelled too much. Unfortunately, when Chapo's the boss, you just can't say no, so they had to do it. After everything was paid off, they started making $5 to $7 million a month on average. In Chicago, they'd been making half that, like $2 to $3 million after expenses. They could have made more money, but they were giving their wholesalers the cheapest prices because they wanted to help them grow. The wholesalers were not only a big asset, they were their friends, and not just guys they did business with. So Junior and Peter knew that if they made them happy, it was good business all around. Plus, wholesalers lost a lot through raids, seizures, and theft. So not having hefty price tags meant they could afford to take losses and still be able to make payments. El Mayo told Junior that one of his guys once complained about their prices. The man had said, "The Cuates, twins, are selling the kilos too cheap in Chicago. Please tell them to stop giving them away because they're messing up my money." Junior got nervous. He thought Mayo was going to start regulating his prices. Instead, Mayo laughed and brushed the guy off. "Whatever the Flores brothers want to make is their business," he said.
That right there, target from all the haters right there. But what the haters don't understand is, them boys bringing in more bread than you. And I'm giving it to them for what I want to give it to them for. And then from there, they do what they got to do. But puts a target on from the haters. So what does the haters do? Do the haters step their game up and try to match what the twins do and sell as much as the twins do? No, they get mad. They do some hater shit. They do some hater shit. They rat on them, or they extort them, or they come at them in some way, because that's just what haters do.
Junior joked, "You tell him that the next time he wants to move work in our city, he needs to ask us for permission." People might as well have, because, believe me, the way Junior and Peter tackled different parts of their enterprise, business wasn't just good. It was great.
Mia. Peter excelled at running the US-based details. The numbers, the logistics, and the ins and outs of who needed what and when made his brain light up. I've never seen anyone roll calls like he did. One cell phone would ring, and he'd bark some orders about moving a shipment of cocaine from here to there. Then another would ring, and he'd hang up and work out some numbers on another call. There were no days off. He'd become more serious and withdrawn emotionally after his kidnapping, so focusing on straight business, nose to the grindstone, actually seemed to provide some relief for him. He felt like he'd been handed so much responsibility when they hooked up with the cartels that there was no room for error, and he became 100% pure perfectionist. He and Junior had taken too many losses and dealt with too much heartache and stress, so all they wanted to do was be great at what they did and never fuck anything up. They aimed to be the best traffickers ever, and in 2006, they were on their way to achieving that goal.
Olivia. While Peter was more on the logistics side, Junior excelled at the personal side. Peter used to call Junior a kiss-ass because of the way he handled their suppliers, customers, and associates. He'd take them out, entertain them, and make them feel really special, and sure, it seemed a little excessive sometimes, but they loved it. Junior's a real people person. He enjoyed talking about stuff outside of business, which made everybody warm up to him fast. He spent so much time beefing up their relationship and connections, but it wasn't to the exclusion of everything else. He also set up their infrastructure in Culiacan, Mexico City, Juarez, Guadalajara, Mexicali, and Toluca, which meant we were traveling nonstop. He had to get stash houses, warehouses, workers, and put together businesses that could serve as fronts. When these things were in place, he had to negotiate for a specific...
Them fools needed a lot more fronts. They needed them fronts back when they was in Chicago. They needed them fronts so that they could show off happily and not have the, the laser beam on them. PR Black said, can't beat them, join them. No, can't beat them, hate them. Extort them. That's what they on over there. Shit. They couldn't join them. Them dudes didn't have an operation like that. Salty at the wholesale conditions that somebody else is doing. You can't, that ain't your load. You can't do that. Wildin'.
Contract with El Chapo, El Mayo, or Arturo Beltran for a specific amount of coke, usually the exclusion of everything else. He also set up their infrastructure in Culiacan, Mexico City, Juarez, Guadalajara, Mexicali, and Toluca, which meant we were traveling nonstop. He had to get stash houses, warehouses, workers, and put together businesses that could serve as fronts. When these things were in place, he had to negotiate for a specific contract with El Chapo, El Mayo, or Arturo Beltran for a specific amount of coke, usually 3 or 4 tons set at a fixed price. If the street value went up or down, there was no renegotiating. Even though they were still receiving shipments for the bosses, they also worked for themselves. In Chicago, their wholesale price for a kilo was $18,000, but they were getting it at $15,000. That's a $3,000 profit on each one. But in LA, their cost was $12,000. Realizing they could double their profits if they relocated their shipments to LA, they decided to start their own route. Junior set up an infrastructure there, with stash houses, stash cars, warehouses, and workers, while Peter set up the routes, trailers, and drivers.
Fortune 500 twins, bro. They were Fortune 500. They could have sold and transported anything. If they were just for the sake of conversation, you know what I'm saying? If they were transferring people back and forth, they'd have been able to do it. PR Black said, take care of your people and your people take care of you. Absolutely. In most cases, there's some people you just can't do enough for. But these guys was a Fortune 5. I'm telling you, these guys were the Jeff Bezos of hustling before Jeff Bezos even knew what he was going to do with Amazon, when he was in the garage. You know what I mean?
Mia. When the contracts were settled with the cartels, Peter would negotiate prices with his wholesalers. Then it was time for things to move. Junior would fly to wherever the cartel's shipments had landed to make sure the cocaine was quality grade. Once everything checked out okay, Peter would coordinate with Junior and make sure all his drivers were in place with a deposit payment in hand. Junior would then pay the fleteros, independent contractors who move shipments of drugs to various locations, to pack up the commercial buses that held the stashes. Junior would call his contact person to clear all the military checkpoints so the buses could make it safely to the border. They paid $50,000 each month for this luxury. Before they actually drove into California,
the amount of moving parts that these dudes had to deal with is just crazy.
Junior would have their workers unload the buses in Mexicali. Then he'd pay cruceros, who are independent smugglers, to jump the work across the border using underground tunnels, cars with fast passes that allowed them to drive into Mexico without being checked, or however else they saw fit. Later, when they got access to La Puerca's tunnels, they eliminated the cruceros and began using their own people. When the shipments made it to LA and a deposit was paid, Junior's employees would load the drugs into SUVs with stash compartments and take them to various stash houses. There, different workers would clean the bricks of kilos, repackage them, and vacuum seal them. Then Junior's workers would take the kilos to a warehouse and wait for the drivers that Peter would send. Employees would load up the tractor trailers with kilos, and then Peter would send his drivers to Cincinnati, Columbus, D.C., Philly, New York, Detroit, and their main hub, Chicago. Peter was meticulous about keeping daily tabs on the drivers. The shipments had to get where they were expected. There could be anywhere from 2 to 4 semis on the road at a time, either with drugs or money, but they never carried more than 300 kilos each.
Olivia. Once the shipments arrived at their destination, the same cycle started again. Peter had his workers unload the bricks, take them to the stash houses, count them, and keep inventory on them. They would never keep more than 200 to 300 kilos or $5 to $7 million at a time in a single location, and they nicknamed every stash house, warehouse, courier, and wholesaler so that if the feds were listening, they'd have no idea what and who they were talking about. For example, if there was a 7-Eleven nearby, they'd call the stash house the 7-Eleven. Then he'd serve his wholesalers, most of the time on the same day, and they'd dole out the bricks to their dealers.
Mia. The last part of the trafficking equation concerned money.
Let me say this too. Say what they want. Oh, this is the wives' book. Bullshit. This is co-written by the twins. Because I don't care how much pillow talk these ladies had, they didn't have all of these logistics the way they have it like this. That wasn't just part of their everyday lexicon that they knew all this information and they could just sit down. Nah, this was a co-written situation from prison between the twins and the wives. There's no way these ladies just had this information. This was fed to them by the guys that knew, and there was only 2 guys that really knew everything, and that was Jay and Pete. P.R. Black said underground, absolutely. And Vic said, imagine being a trucker for them. Big money. Big money. Big risk, big money. Facts. Big risk, big money. Probably didn't even know who they were working for, too. Who knows at that point? Because, again, like I said, there's a lot of moving parts. But yeah, there's no way that these ladies had all this information just sitting in their dome. This was a collaborative effort, which I am mad at. I mean, it's what they're supposed to do. But this book has a lot to do. This is more than just Cartel wives. They're telling the twins' story as well. This is more than just them telling their story or their perspective.
Peter got the couriers in each city to collect cash from the wholesalers, and his tractor-trailer drivers would take it to their main hub in Chicago. Then his couriers would carry it to their stash houses. Peter would have them sort through the bills using money counters, bundle it up in certain denominations, package it, vacuum seal it, and transport it to the tractor-trailer drivers.
That's a lot.
His workers would be up all night counting, while his couriers were delivering drugs to his wholesalers, and he wouldn't sleep till they all got home. It wasn't just that he wanted to make sure everything was in order. He needed to be sure his guys were safe. They were counting millions of dollars, so it wouldn't take an hour. They'd be working till 4 a.m., so he and I wouldn't go to bed till 5 or 6. He was tired every day, but nothing came before his employees. They needed to know they were more valuable than any amount of money or drugs.
Olivia. With the money all loaded up, the semis would get back on the road and drive to L.A., where Junior's workers would hand the cash to the same person they picked up the work from. The cash would make its way across the border, then on a commercial bus to Mexico City or Culiacan, and once it was there, Junior would have his employees take inventory of the packaged money and make sure it was accounted for. Junior would deposit it immediately, because there was no such thing as consignment in Mexico, ever. All work at cost had to be paid up front. But if Junior negotiated a contract in LA or Chicago, they would have their workers unload the shipments at their warehouses and then deposit the money in either city. The money always had to be paid in the city where they received the shipment. Moving money was actually worse than moving drugs, and taking care of it was a job in and of itself. Junior and Peter served the wholesalers, who served the drug dealers, all the way down the line until someone reached the little guys on the street corners who were collecting ones and fives from dope fiends. People imagine the cash involved in drug trafficking is like a scene in the movies, when one person hands another a suitcase full of clean...
Hell no. Dirty ass, snorted, snot and powder ass dollars. That's what you're getting. Salutes to PR Black in the chat. He said, remember, they were in their early 20s. The father taught them well. They were definitely in their early 20s, which is crazy. And guess what? The father taught them plenty, but I think they taught him a lot too. I think these dudes was just naturally inclined to... They were natural problem solvers, man. Anybody that's just trying to do something, there's certain people that if they're into functionality, and if a problem arises, their business is to solve that problem and figure it out, and it seems that they move that way about everything, you know. So I think they taught their father a couple of things at a certain point. But again, they were in their 20s. They were young, moving, 100 metric tons a month, and they were out there getting it. They were out there getting it. Everybody paying attention. Vic said that's what's crazy. Mad young. Yeah, it was mad young. And I was always wondering, where's that peak? I knew it was around there, 05, 06. It was very short-lived. Very short-lived. Unfortunately, shit went left. Pear-shaped.
Crispy $100 bills, all tied up and positioned in neat rows.
Nope.
It's not like that. You have a hell of a lot of small bills on your hands, and you've got to figure out what to do with them. Sometimes, these bills aren't just a headache, they're a real problem. Once, Junior went to see Chapo, and Olivares became furious with him about the small bills they'd given him. "You turned in $1.6 million in ones and fives?" he yelled. "That money filled up a whole fucking shipping container."
So what's up? You don't want it? You don't want it, I'll take it back with me. Don't worry about it. I'll find some place for it.
"You better come pick them up right now because I'm not accepting your bullshit money as payment.
Well,
if you don't get it fast, I'll burn it all." Junior was stunned. But
now you wildin'. Now you trying to burn it too. You trying to put me in debt to you. I just gave you 1.5, but you mad.
He didn't want to show it. Instead, he looked at Olivares and Chapo and leveled with them. "We have to pick up $6 to $7 million just to get $1 million in hundreds. We didn't have the time to change the rest into larger bills. My brother's depositing faster than the workers can run through the money and package it. Since you needed to transport the money quickly to Mexico, we had to do it this way." Chapo thought for a minute, then nodded his head. He understood that Junior was doing his best. "Let it go, Olivares," he said. "Let it go."
Logic. Somebody got to be logical, and that's one thing I'm learning about this whole Mexican cartel shit. There's not much logic. It's ridiculous shit like, "I burn it all." It's all by order, a la orden. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's not how the world works. He had a perfectly good explanation why he just gave you 1.5 in ones and fives. You know what I'm saying? You wanted it quick? You want it quick, or you want crispy hundreds? You got to make up your mind. You know what I mean? Or you want to burn it. So they was very illogical. You know what I'm saying? They was very quick to burn it all down. What the fuck is wrong with these guys?
Olivares was beyond upset, but Chapo was the boss, and his order was going to stand.
Mia. While Peter took control of the ledgers and the accounting in meticulous detail, he and Junior took equal responsibility for hiring and training employees. As far as their people were concerned, they were one voice, and together they always stressed one thing. Their workers should act, not think. "Leave the thinking up to us," they'd say, knowing there was no room for error. Their employees were their eyes and their ears, and they maintained close relationships with every one of them. Peter and Junior always made sure they knew that they were not replaceable, and they would never choose money over them. Because of the respect Junior and Peter showed them, their workers would do anything for them, or us, at any given moment.
See, that's what you said earlier. Who was it? Was it PR Black? Say you take care of take care of your people. Take care of your people take care of you. Vic said fucking campesinos. They just mad, dog. They just want to kill some shit. Rather than get their money. They want it how they want it or they want it how they want it. It's like, make up your mind, bro.
Olivia. I remember one time when Junior's associate and close friend Paco picked us up from the airport in Culiacan. Even though we had new identities, airports were always nerve-wracking, especially that day. As soon as we stepped off the plane and walked past the gate, I could see the federal police. They were walking quickly toward us, looking right at Junior. My heart dropped. Oh, God, I thought. This is it. He's going to jail. They're going to drag him away. Instead, the police were there with Paco to escort us out of the airport safely. That day, I realized again how powerful Junior and Peter were. They didn't just have everyone, including the federal police, on their payroll, but these guys were prepared to do anything to protect them and us.
Mia. When we'd travel, Peter and Junior would take meetings during the day, and Olivia and I would go shopping or out to lunch, then meet them for dinner. Junior would entertain their clients, while Peter would sit back, a little serious. Still, it was always clear they were on the same page about anything and everything. When we were out on the town, their associates just couldn't understand why Olivia and I were always there. They'd just stare at us like, "Do you always have to be with your husbands?" In Mexico, women don't go out with their spouses if there's business involved. They're home, taking care of the kids or cooking.
Olivia. Junior and I went to Culiacan all the time, and it was another world to me. The whole city was plugged, just completely cartel infested. We'd sit outside and eat at the taco stands, and hundreds of pickups would pass by with armed men hanging out of the truck beds in broad daylight. As I tried not to look too hard, a group of them would jump out and walk right past me to order, radios strapped to their waists and machine guns lying across their backs. Entire families, with little babies, would be eating tacos, and it wouldn't even faze them. It was so normal that they'd become numb to it. Then, you'd hear shots in the distance, and someone's radio would go off. A muffled voice would bark orders, and the men standing in line would turn around, march back to their pickups, load up, and burn rubber toward whoever was shooting.
Mia. Olivia and I never went into the mountains to see Chapo, though. That was strictly off limits to women, unless you were a stripper or a prostitute.
Mind you, when we spoke to Val, we asked Val, because Goth Beauty had asked if she had seen, or if she had met Emma Coronel, which is Chapo's wife, and Val's answer was, in Mexico, the women are at the crib. They're not sitting around doing business. So they said that here. And they also said they weren't privy to the Chapos and the Mayos of the world.
But according to Junior and Peter, there were plenty of them there because Chapo loved to pay for girls and always had them around. If they were young, all the better. And sometimes he'd specifically ask for virgins. Every inch of Chapo's compound was spotlessly clean, and he had good hygiene.
That's weird. That's some weirdo shit right now.
Why? Because he always had a girl on standby.
Olivia. Peter and Junior weren't into that, though. After watching how their father acted and all the heartache their mother went through, they wanted to be different with us. They were devoted to me and Mia and didn't even think of cheating on us. They made that clear when they were in the mountains, too. Chapo had 20 satellite phones, and every time Junior would land at Chapo's compound, he'd call me on one to say he'd made it there safely.
Jesus. Then
before he'd leave, he'd call me again to say he loved me. Chapo and El Mayo would laugh at him every time he grabbed one of the phones. Your wife is muy cabrona, one of them would say, meaning she must be the boss. Once, when Vicente was there with his dad, he laughed, adding, "You must be scared of her." Junior would just shake his head, smile, and joke. I'm more scared of her than Chapo. Then everyone would burst out laughing. All that power, and he still chose to think I was in charge.
Yeah, and then Chapo just wrote it on his little list. This cabrón said he's more afraid of his wife than me. Keep that there for if anything goes down, I could use that on him.
Mia. Chapo was the boss, but he was a real person, too. Peter said he had this unique, super sharp sense of humor and was always kidding around. But not in a goofy way. He'd just say little things, and you couldn't really tell if he was messing with you or not. He was really engaged, really perceptive, and was always making a very deliberate effort to
Yeah, that's that crazy psychopath murderer sarcasm. That's what that is.
Stay on his toes and keep you on your toes.
Facts.
He was taking B12 shots and flying in special vitamins from Europe every week. I like to keep my mind strong and my body healthy, he'd say.
Olivia. That's probably one of the reasons he liked Junior and Peter so much. They kept him feeling young. Junior and Peter were just kids in their mid-20s. Chapo and El Mayo were 30 years older than them, and it was fun for them to have these young guys in their inner circle. Plus, as Americans, they were different, exotic almost, and Chapo just soaked that up. Chapo adored American food, and he once shut down a Burger King just so he could eat there. He loved talking about their business across the border because he knew how hard it was to work in the States. The challenge was exciting to him. It was a whole other world.
Mia. Junior and Peter being American wasn't just good for stories or thrills, though. They knew how to deal with their American workers in a way the Mexicans never would. Most of their wholesalers in Chicago were black, and people from Mexico didn't trust them. They'd never dream of giving them work because they don't have family in Mexico. And south of the border, the only thing that matters is where your roots are. Family is the cartel's insurance.
Leverage is the cartel's insurance. And if your family can be leveraged, then that's what they want from you. And again, we've had this conversation before. Yeah, the twins didn't just deal with a bunch of Latino gangs. Nah, they dealt mostly with black gangs. You know? And that's a conversation that those paisas, that don't speak much English ain't able to have. The twins were able to have that conversation, which led them to a lot of bread.
If you don't pay up, they'll kill your wife and your kids. This psychological barrier existed on the other side, too. The black wholesalers and dealers didn't respect the paisas or their Mexican connections. They'd say, those paisas in sombreros don't speak a lick of English. There was no one to bridge that divide till Junior and Peter showed up. They built these new networks. Business boomed, and suddenly everyone was happy.
Olivia. Their meetings with the cartels became natural and easygoing because of it. The more they got to know Chapo and Mayo and the richer they made them, the more relaxed things became. They started to become family to them. When they'd get to the palapa, Mayo would stand up from his chair, motion for them to sit down, and say, "No, Pedro, Junior, take my seat." He'd always state both of their names, one right after the other, because
all the haters hated that. I'm sure they did. Hated it. It take little things for a hater, man. Little tiny things, man. A hater, you come up on anything that they weren't able to come up on, they just gonna just brood. It just broods in them, you know what I'm saying? In their weak being, in their
because he couldn't tell them apart. El Mayo started taking care of Junior and Peter because he loved how humble and appreciative they were. In Mexico, giving gifts to say thank you is expected, but Peter and Junior were the best at it. They'd gifted Mayo's sons with $150,000 Rolex masterpieces and $150,000 choppers. And even though Mayo had never let his kids ride motorcycles because his grandson had tragically died on one, he still expressed his gratitude. Chapo adored Junior and Peter and looked at them like sons. He even pushed them to be good influences on his youngest kid, who was sort of immature. Today, Alfredillo's famous for posting Instagram photos of stacks of cash, his Lamborghini, hot girls in bikinis on yachts, and his pet cheetah.
Money phone guy? He's a money phone guy? Pendejo.
Back in 2005, there was no Instagram, and Alfredillo was just known as a rich narco junior. He lived in Guadalajara near us, and sometimes we'd see him driving his white Lamborghini way too fast past our house. Chapo got on him for this, and he wanted him to hang out with Junior and Peter. "You're good for my son," he said to my husband and brother-in-law. Sure enough, Alfredillo started coming by our house after that.
Mia. Chapo and Mayo used to make jokes about how big Junior and Peter were. Chapo would laugh and say, "You can feed all the pigs in the world with the scraps you leave behind." Basically, that means that you're making so much money that you can afford to drop some for the pigs that are sniffing around under you. To them, Junior and Pete were these wonder twins, capable of almost anything.
Olivia. Things were so relaxed that sometimes the jokes were aimed at Chapo. It was hot in the mountains during the day, so a lot of the time Peter and Junior wore shorts when they flew there. For Americans, this was normal. When it's hot, you're sure as hell not wearing jeans. But in Mexico, shorts are for women, and if a man wears them, people think he's feminine. Even though Chapo understood American culture, it wouldn't stop him from poking fun at them when they'd visit.
Sopranos, a Don doesn't wear shorts.
"I know you have the money to buy the other half of your pants," he'd say. Junior and Peter loved kidding around. So one day before flying out, they found out Chapo's size, bought a pair of shorts for him, wrapped them up nicely with a box of Viagra, and presented them to him as a gift.
Wow.
It became the biggest joke out there in the mountains.
Okay. Estos cabrones gave me Viagra box and shorts. Put that on the list in case anything happens.
Mia. At home, we never joked about business or Chapo, much less talked about it. In fact, we hardly discussed all the money that was coming in. By 2006, cash was something that was just there, free for the taking and spending. In fact, I felt jaded, almost unfazed, like a banker who walks into the vault a few times a week and sees millions of dollars in front of him. I never stopped and said in shock, "Oh my gosh, we have so much money." I just knew we had millions and could spend as much of it as we wanted. In fact, a few steps away from our bedroom was a room where Junior and Peter stored their cash. Probably $2 or $3 million was piled up, all tied in little bundles, and if I needed some, I'd just walk in and grab a few stacks. I got new pieces of jewelry all the time.
So you just walk in, grab a few stacks, get new pieces of jewelry. Imagine if Amazon existed back then, boy. Delivery man would have just been posted up in front of their house all day long. Felix Reyes in the chat, JP to go almost greenlit him. Yeah, hey. Viagra and also said, F that, need them shorts and hot water. Need them shorts, what, to jump fences like like Jerome was talking about with the shorts? I don't know, man. Them dudes thought that was funny. Chapo, I don't think that Chapo think anything's funny, even if it's funny.
We bought a new car every couple of weeks, and Peter would give away the old car to one of his low-level workers or one of our cleaning ladies. They probably couldn't afford the gas, but here they were, with a brand new car in their garage.
Olivia. A $10 million loss from a raid, theft, or seizure used to be a huge deal. But that year, big losses were just part of the game. Sometimes they wouldn't even tell us about them, and they never made Junior have a bad day.
Breakage, big breakage, but them boys had that bread to call it breakage. You know what I mean? Salute to Jonathan Pantoja for the $10 super chat. He said, shout out Shael. About time I catch a live that doesn't go wrong. Thanks to this platform. Salute to you and everything you do and been doing. You living legend. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, it has been going smoothly last couple of times. I had the internet clunk out last week. I've had YouTube shut me down, but we've been good. Let's not jinx it. But appreciation to Jonathan Pantoja for the super chat. Ruben Contreras, why would they tell their girls anything though? Well, again, that was a big complaint that I had in season 1 was all the pillow talking. And don't get it twisted. If you're going to be in a relationship with somebody and you're going to have a marriage with somebody, there's going to be things that they're going to have to know. You know what I'm saying? My thing is unnecessary things like, if I have a guy that does my dirtiest work for me, right? Just the filthiest things. I'm not going to, and he's going to be around. He's going to be at my daughter's 3rd birthday. He's going to be at the quinceañeras and all of this. I'm not going to have that pillow talk conversation with my wife and be like, yo, so-and-so did this, so that she can have this feeling about him. That's one thing, you know what I'm saying? I'm also not going to tell them nothing that they can give up under torture or be tortured or kidnapped for because somebody knows that they know it. You know what I'm saying? But there are some things that they're going to have to know. I agree. I was salty about all the pillow talk. They showed them stash houses. They showed them this early on in the relationships. Now, by the time they got to this point, by the time they got to I don't remember if it was 2017 that this book was published. By the time they got to this point, the cat's out the bag. They escaped Mexico. The cooperation was done. Chopper was in prison, or they were in prison. And now I'm finna tell you everything. We're going to let it all out. But back then, again, like you said, she could walk into the stash house. I mean, who's going to hide the stash house of, who's going to hide that room in the house, though? Ruben, they got to know that the money's right there. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a mix of things. I think there's only so much you could keep away from them, and there's only so many things that you can let them know without putting them in danger. Either way, it seems like a rock and a hard place. You know what I'm saying? So appreciation to Ruben Contreras. Appreciation to Jonathan Pantoja. Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate you. Matter of fact, we're going to pin you up here. Let me see. Can I? I can't pin it? Nah, that sucks. That blows. Oh, no, I think it's up there already. So appreciation to you. Thank you. But, yeah, I don't know. I ain't telling nobody nothing. Why is there $6 million in the next room? Mind your business. Do you love me? You want to be with me? Mind your business.
You hear of husbands coming home from work, stressed out after terrible days and taking it out on their wives or ignoring their kids. But not Junior. He was always so positive. Once, all of us were out at this really nice Italian restaurant, and Junior's phone rang. In the middle of the conversation, I heard him say, $10 million gone? Okay, we'll just have to make it up this week. I flipped out. Make it up this week? You lost $10 million? Don't stress, Liv, he said. It's just part of business.
Mia. Peter wasn't the type of guy to get really happy about making money. He never said, hey, baby, I made $1 million today. Let's go out to eat.
Steak.
Both of us came from nothing, and millions of dollars hadn't made our lives better. Sure, it made things easy and nice, but better? Not really. If anything, things were just more complicated.
That's facts.
Olivia. Honestly, I always felt that money was the root of all evil. I'd see people all of a sudden with wads of cash, and it had turned them into monsters. Junior would always say to me, no, you don't understand. They didn't become assholes overnight. They were always like that. They just didn't have the means to show it. I couldn't wrap my brain around how that could happen. When I was a teenager, I thought earning money would make me truly happy, really complete me. But pretty fast, I figured out there's more to life than that. Life's about family and love, and putting good into the world. Since then, There have been times I've had millions of dollars and times I couldn't pay my bills. And my heart's been the same through all of it. Same with Junior. Money never changed him. He was different from all the rest. He would have been the same good person if he'd worked from 9 to 5 every day. Throughout 2006, it would be something I'd have to remember. Because while life couldn't have been better at home, the Mexican drug trade was about to reach a boiling point, with all of us caught in the crosshairs.
And we're going to learn about that boiling point for the second time tomorrow when we go live for chapter 17 of Cartel Wives. All right, right now we're going to break, that was chapter 16. We're going to break chapter 16 down real quick. I wanted to hear that. I wanted to hear the numbers. I wanted to hear some logistics. I wanted to hear how it went down, what was going down. I knew it was coming, and there it was. Vic in the chat said, but Val was about that life, so it's so much you can keep. Sorry, only so much you could keep from her. That's a fact. She would have sniffed it out. You know what I'm saying? She'd have sniffed it out. But again, like once you're that close, you're somebody's wife, you're not going to hide the business. I get that part. I'm not ignorant to that. But just to know everything, what one of the big things for me was her knowing about Rambo and all of the things Rambo done, and then she uncomfortable and had this visceral stomach pain every time he was around. Well, she wouldn't have had that problem if we didn't tell her all Rambo's dirty little secrets. You know what I'm saying? He would have been the same, yes, but would she be with him if he was a 9-to-5 guy? It's a big question. A question that's been asked before. It's something that they spoke about here, and I believe I yelled. If I find it in the edit, I'll put it in the edited version of this, where I'm like, you never had a 9-to-5 guy. You probably had a 9-to-5 little boyfriend when you was 12, 13. But aside from that, you never had a 9-to-5 guy. You had the like PR Black said earlier, you had hustlers, but then you ended up with the high IQ hustlers. You know what I'm saying? The guys with the logistics. PR Black said, these past few chapters have been very insightful. The book might be better than the podcast. I think we're all feeling that way because of the lackluster second season of Surviving El Chapo. I believe since we've gone back to the beginning, we're getting all the juicy stuff and the details. I believe if you put if you put this book, Cartel Wives, next to season 1 of Surviving El Chapo, I believe that they stand well together as far as, excitement and being intriguing and insightful. I think season 2 of Surviving El Chapo might have been a little too much. They didn't have enough story to tell. They should have condensed that, made it all one season of, I don't know, one season of maybe 20 episodes that was just, done deal. We got it. We're done. You know what I mean? Like, instead, they dragged it out to 2 seasons, and the second season didn't live up to the first. But again, Cartel Wives we're getting into the good shit here. What's good, my guy? Now I can relax and watch a real channel. JRock81817 boss, salutes to you, bro. I appreciate you. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a real channel, because I'm going to talk my shit. Whoever likes it, whoever don't like it, I can't control that part. You know what I mean? I was reading that book in prison and didn't like it that much. Well, we breaking it down in here, and we calling bullshit on what got to have bullshit called on it, and we expounding and expanding on the rest of it. This episode here, decent episode. They broke down the logistics, how things went down, real quick. I'm sure there was a lot. That shit was exhausting in itself. Like, I was tired just listening to it. So I can imagine what a regular day was like for these dudes, They got into that. They got into the relationship with the Chapo and Mayo and how that built, and their joking, the little joking situation they have with Chapo, like they're relaxed. How everybody else is looking at them because they're them dudes, but they're them dudes to the point where Chapo want his kid hanging out with them. You know what I'm saying? Salutes to Jonathan Pantoja again for another $10 super chat. He said, you've been putting out quality content, and I've been a fan since listening to Hometown featuring Ace Mack way back then, my dude. I appreciate you and all that you do. Salute to you, Jonathan. I appreciate you, bro. There's stories behind that. Maybe I'll do a podcast one day about, all of that stuff happening, the video, the song. Me and Mac basically did a whole album together that never came out. Like, there's songs in the vault somewhere in one of my vaults, in one of my old hard drives, a bunch of songs that we did together. That never dropped. So I appreciate you. Thank you for your super chat, bro. Stick around. Make sure you share, hit the like button, and we'll keep doing this, dog. This is just another part of another life that I live. Just another one of my many lives. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you. Thank you, dog. Salute. But yeah, so boom, we see their relationship again. Now Chapo wants his kids hanging out with them. Like, these guys are the guys right now, and I'm sure that's breeding a whole lot of resentment between all of the other guys on the block, all of the other guys doing their thing, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to see where that leads to, because now it's easy. Now, if there's a fracture in the system between the cartel, all those guys is like, all right, we get to eat these dudes if we want to. You know what I'm saying? They're caught in the middle now. So everybody, we'll see how that goes. And we'll see tomorrow. I plan on going live tomorrow. And doing chapter 17 of Cartel Wives. I'm trying to get through this. And I got a couple of other things lined up. So, again, I appreciate y'all for being here. I salute to y'all. I hope y'all having a good. Now it's turning in, well, in Chicago with the lights going out, it's turning into evening. It's about 4 o'clock here. But but again, I appreciate y'all. We had a good time. Salutes to y'all. If y'all got any questions, make sure you throw them shits in the chat now. Other than that, throw up those hundreds up in there, and let's get at it again. Respect and salutes to Jonathan Pantoja for the super chats. I appreciate you. Let's go through the chat right here. Let's see who was in the building today. Old Soul, of course. 030 North. Felix Reyes, J Fam, JP the Ghost, Guillermo Pac, Felix Reyes, Yael. Who else? PR Black, Vic, Jonathan Pantoja. You let me know if I'm saying it wrong. Is it Pantoja or Pantoja? Because them MMA commentators, boy, they be getting it all wrong, and then I get used to how they say things. And who else we had in here? Vic, Ruben Contreras, salute to you. J-Rock 817, salute to you. I appreciate y'all. I see y'all hundreds and y'all salutes. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all very much. Make sure y'all hit the like button on the way out. Let's find something to play on the way out of here, though. Let's see what I could find here that won't get me shut down at the end. All the way at the end of my live stream. Let me see what I got here. Ruben Contreras, shoot your question. Do you think the twins whacked Kato? I don't. For a lot of reasons. I think Kato had no lack of enemies. I think if they wanted to do it, there was many ways to do it. I think they had a love for each other. I think a lot of the rumors and a lot of again, I used to argue with people. People would come in the chat and they tell me, "Oh, well then why don't they let Kato's mom see the kid?" And I used to think, "Damn, she bogus. Then I find out they don't have no kid together. So it's like it makes me believe that I just been listening to rumors that have no truth behind them. So it's like I haven't seen. Because here's my question: why not cop to that murder in their proffer during their cooperation? There's no statutory. There's no what's the word for the date? There's no It doesn't run out. A murder is forever. You know what I'm saying? So they had the opportunity to get that off of them during that proffer. Why they didn't do it? They had an opportunity, because now if they were, let's just say evidence were to come out tomorrow that they did, they popped. Why wouldn't they do that when they proffered for their cooperation against Chapo? Is my question. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if they had killed him, they would have let the cat out the bag then. I had an argument with a friend, and he was like, yeah, but there's kids involved. Then we find out there's no kids. They're not going to mention that. They're not going to put it out there. Yeah, statute of limitations. Thank you, Felix Reyes. Statute of limitations. There's no statute of limitations on murder. You know what I'm saying? So why wouldn't they have just copped to that murder when they cooperated and got that off of them? If information comes out tomorrow and says they did it, they go down for that shit. You know what I mean? So throughout all of the things that I've learned and all of the things that I've seen at this moment with the information that I've had, I say no. I don't think they whacked Kiddo. I don't think it was a thing to take the man's wife or none of that. I think it all just worked out the way it worked out, and it looks good. And like Val said, it's a great story. You know, but if it was true, like everybody, I'm telling you, I was listening to people in the comments. Oh, they don't let his mom see the baby. What baby? What are we talking about here? None of this exists. And in my thoughts is, if they had a body on them, they would have took that body off of them during their immunity case. You know. So I hope that answers your question. No, I don't think so. Not now. You know, information changes things, so we shall see. But I don't know. All right, I'm going to play a joint before we go. I appreciate y'all hundreds in the chat. I'm going to play a song called Love. But don't let it fool you. PR Black says she said it herself. Yeah, she said she was hurt by the accusation. She said she said herself she'd still be with him today. And she said that, we all know, we heard the phone call. She said that with Jay standing in the room. You know what I'm saying? She said that with Jay standing in the room. She said, I'd have been with him today. That was my vision, is to be with him today. Had that not happened. So, you know, it is what it is. But that's my take from it now. You would have asked me that during season 1? I'd have said, hell yeah, put a bag on them. But then I learned too much after that for me to continue to push a false narrative. I can't do that. Or something that I don't believe. I'm not that dude. All right, man. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a good night. Salutes to you. And I will see y'all very, very soon, like tomorrow. Peace.
They held me through the hardships, the hardship. My parachute, my harness, my sanity, the man in me. They give me love regardless. My triumphs and my tragedies on bright days in the darkness and storms, or when it's warm. They know right where my heart is. I'm sitting on my city's shoulder, sipping at the cemetery. Smoke to the pains over, live for something legendary. Walk through the rain, soldier, even if the flood is scary. Even if there's blood filling your lungs, let your spirit carry. On with the winds, I'm one with my sins. I did what I did, I'm trying to feed these kids. And the truth is, there's not much chance they live. Thrown under the county bus, pushed off of a bridge. Shot in the cold, shell cases melt through the snow. Buzzers pick at your carcass for your Jordans and clothes. The future's unknown, life's about holding your own. So grit your teeth, plant your feet, feast and bury the bones. I made some people proud, I let some others down. After all, I'm only human, bound to fuck up every now and then. Through the pen with myself, make amends. Push myself through the winds, the sins, the pain of these dead friends. If the love stay real, we can transcend. But if it falters, we witnessing man's end. Some fences you can't mend, rivers you can't swim, lines that you can't cross, shoes that you can't spin, heights that you can't touch unless you give that much back in return. Use the spine in your back and be firm. You give back and you burn. Humility's the lesson you'll learn. Nobody makes it, this is confirmed. Love been struggling, she just can't give enough. And she tired as fuck, thinking she just might give up. If not for bloodlust, these empty veins and heart won't pump. What's left of the flesh will go stiff and crumble to dust. It's not easy when there's nothing to trust, nowhere to be. While hate run free, lonely love, lifeless under lock and key. This prison's not for me. Bring these walls down right now, no matter what the cost could be. When it's real love, you hold on, enough to bet your soul on. The fact you got each other's back, the thick, the thin, and so on. There's journeys left to go on, destination so warm. Peaks and valleys, streets and alleys, roughest roads to roll on. Find peace, find me, puffin', planting my trees. Wave riding high seas, out collecting my fees. A fine breeze with no negativity finds me. A mind free of anything that could bind me. Behind me are the memories of a zombie. A past life, a present like that cannot be. A better vision, a better living's what I see. A clear picture of what it is that the shy need. Love, help us with these guns. Give us some direction, keep us from destroying us. Grant us resurrection from the bottom of these slums. From murdering our young, abandoning our daughters and sons.